got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy. Energy. got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy, energy, and the energy, 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 and the energy, energy, got the energy, energy, and the energy, 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 and the energy. Yeah, we got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy, energy, and the energy, 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 and the energy, energy, got the energy, energy, and the energy, 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 and the energy, energy, got the energy. Got the energy. Ain't nobody telling me. Got the energy.
Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with Jason Lloyd and Mikey McNuggets. I'm Adam the Bull. We've got Anthony and Steve behind the glass, and our title sponsor today is?
No title sponsor.
Is nobody. It doesn't
It's
exist.
me, back from vacation. I'm
No-
here. Hello.
No title.
What's up, Ben?
Anthony, weren't you here yesterday?
Yeah, but I wasn't on the show or anything.
Oh, you weren't? All right, well, here you are. You're back. You had a good time at your concert.
It was fun. It was a good
Anthony
time.
was out of control. He was partying with his girlfriend. They were, I don't know what they were doing out there. Apparently nothing too exciting. They were
Yeah,
just
no, I
watching
didn't
a
even
concert.
drink the whole weekend. So
Shows it's a sign of maturity
Yeah.
or a sign of unfunness. I don't know. Either way.
probably a little bit of both,
Yeah, a little
depending
bit
on
of
who you
both.
ask.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, what's going on?
What a morning.
What's happening?
Went to a
It's
funeral.
scheduled release.
Went to a funeral last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, a real one or the Cavs game?
Cavs game.
Well, the real one might have been more fun.
I thought you'd be up, fired up, slobbering, slathered up, and screaming by now.
It's very weird because I went, like, after Game 3, I went on my post game show and I was just losing my mind.
You mean game 4?
I'm sorry, Game 4. It was weird last night. It's like, obviously the whole thing's a disappointment. And, like, part of me is like, they lost the game in Game 4. That was the series. Last night, Donovan did all he could. He was, missing 3 free throws. Like, he's just not right there. And I don't know. I didn't want to kill them as much today, even though they deserve to be killed. But at least, I can't believe I'm saying this, but at least they gave great effort yesterday, unlike Game 4. But that sounds so pitiful to say.
Yeah, no, but it's fair. And you and I were texting last night, and Jason and I did a Cavs show this morning. We're going to rehash some of that stuff in a second, but
Yeah.
it's just there's no other way to put it
Yeah.
than beyond disappointing. And there is now ammo for any variation of the future with this team if you want to go.
Yeah.
Any direction you want to go, you now have valid points, ammunition. You could point to data. You can point to the intangible stuff like toughness, not having it. you can make a case for any direction you want to go now. That's going to make this offseason, frankly, absurd in a fun way and also in a way that's going to drive us all crazy.
Before we get into any of it, Anthony, give us a read here with FanDuel.
Yeah, guys, the NBA playoffs for the rest of the league are still in full swing, and every night delivers a highlight-worthy performance, major momentum shifts, and you can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, and fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on who's heating up, why not back it up with some in-game parlays? Are you new to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Guys, we are beyond just the Cavs. I mentioned this briefly yesterday, but we are one win away for Oklahoma City, the Knicks, and Minnesota from having the four teams in the Final Four be three teams that have never won a championship and a fourth team, the Knicks, that hasn't won a championship since 1973.
Yeah. That's exactly what the league wanted.
Yeah?
It's exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, and you know they want the Knicks in the finals.
Oh, yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
But I mean, so if you're just a casual or like you love the NBA, but maybe you don't have a favorite team, it's fun competition. No doubt. I think a lot of people think Oklahoma City's the heavy favorite. They probably are, but I don't know. It feels like any of the teams left can win the championship. But,
do we want to dive into the rest of the league?
Well, we'll get to that later. But getting back to the Cavs here, let's start with last night. I mean, the Cavs got off to this great start. Donovan playing great early. Evan Mobley playing great early. They're up by, what was the max? They were up by 17? 19, right, in the second quarter.
That almost doesn't matter anymore in the NBA.
It
doesn't matter how big the league is.
You're right. We've seen so many big comebacks.
There was a time where you could say, oh, my God, can you believe they blew a 20-point lead?
Right, now it happens all the time. Yeah.
However, in Game 4, you and me kept saying in the group chat, it's 20.
They'll make a run.
They'll make a run,
Yeah,
and they never did. So you give Indiana credit for making a run. The Cavs, no matter how you slice and dice it, they blew two different 19-point leads this
and they were, obviously everything was on the line. They were playing great basketball early in this game, and then from the middle of the second quarter through the end of the third quarter, they were pretty terrible.
They couldn't make a shot.
Yeah.
And we could dive into all the reasons why the offense sputtered. And we have the numbers that prove they just missed shots that they had made all season. At the end of the day, and Jason and I kind of talked about it this morning, we'll talk about it again, Cleveland was unable to execute any of the things offensively that they executed at a high level during the regular season. The whole offense was built on getting into the paint, drawing the defense in, kicking out to shooters, and letting either shooters take an open three or attack the second closeout. In this playoff series, and we have the numbers, the playoff splits, if you want to pull these up here, the Cavs not only cratered from a shooting standpoint, they were missing open threes, they were missing good threes. You can see the regular season versus Indiana series stats and the splits, the three-point shooting on the bottom three numbers.
What is PIT?
Points in the paint.
Oh.
So basically, we'll start back with the front. The three-point shooting, they were the number one three-point shooting team in the league. They shot 38.3% during the regular season. Against Indiana as a team, that number dropped to 29.4.
All those numbers are, except for the points in the paint, which is the same.
And I'm going to explain the points in the paint in one second. Catch and shoot threes, CNS, 39.3%, top 5 in the league. 30.3% against Indiana. On wide open threes, 42%, number 1 in the NBA during the regular season. On wide open three-point attempts against Indiana, which NBA.com tracking considers a defender not being within 6 feet of you. They shot 25.7% from beyond the arc.
That's insane.
That's 10 points lower than what the lowest in the regular season was. Now, the drive numbers down slightly, points in the paint up slightly. If you're going to win a playoff series and shoot like that from three, the points in the paint and the drives have to be way up. You have to counter the lack of three-point shooting with something. The fact that the drives are down and the points in the paint are virtually even, and your three-point numbers have cratered, that is not a recipe for any type of offensive success. And Rick Carlisle and Kenny Atkinson said after the game, part of Indiana's defensive strategy was to let these guys attack one-on-one. And you could say Darius and Evan were hurt, and all that is valid.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm just saying it's a reality. It's not the reason. It's not like the Cavs are the bad boy Pistons. And it's not like the Pacers were the bad boy Pistons.
Sure.
This is not an elite level defensive team. It's a good defensive team, and give Indiana a ton of credit. I don't want to take that away from them. But this isn't an elite all-time defense that the Cavs shouldn't have been able to attack even with those guys slightly hampered.
Well, and they only had 10 assists last night, the Cavs.
They went back to isolation basketball.
Right, and let's talk. You guys have already talked to death this game, and everybody knows what happened. But I want to look bigger picture here a little bit beyond the game, because when you look at the roster and how this series turned out, did we get it wrong? Like, did we overrate the roster?
Did you overrate the roster? No.
I mean, did we overrate the depth especially? Because I think we now know that Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro are useless playoff players.
I think we knew that about Okoro before.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised
Fair.
they signed him to the deal that they
Fair.
did.
We thought Dean Wade, okay, he'd been hurt. He's a useless. He can't play in the playoffs. He's useless.
Yeah. That's 3 years in a row.
And so now you have that knocks you down to 7. You want to say Sam Merrill? I don't know.
But the playoffs, you're not relying on Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro.
But they played a decent amount of minutes.
But the stars are what drive you
right
in the playoffs. That's who you've got to rely on. That's who you've got to count on. It's the top of the roster, not the bottom of the roster. We've talked about it all year.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the finals, you're playing 8 guys, and you're trusting 7.
Yeah.
The 8th guy plays 6 minutes. You're relying on Donovan, Darius, Evan, Jarrett. That's who has to carry you in these series. It's not those guys.
Right. Okay. Well, let me talk about Evan Mobley. Go ahead.
Can I just answer your do we overrate
Yeah.
the roster question before we dive into each of these guys individually?
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily overrated the roster. We may have overrated the depth, and I think we try to tell you guys at some point they're not playing 10, 11 guys in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to shrink from 10, 11 guys to having 2.5 that you trust. So I overrated.
Who were the 2.5?
Donovan.
The whole roster. I think you meant the bench.
No. The whole
Yeah.
roster. It was shrunk down to 2.5 guys in a game 5 that you really trusted. There is a clear delineation in playoff basketball versus regular season basketball. I don't think we overrated the Cavs in terms of who they are as a regular season team. I think we severely overrated what to expect from some of these guys based on the track record we had previously and how nothing that we saw in this playoff stretch against Miami and Indiana changed anything. I don't think we feel differently about anyone in a playoff scenario than we did coming into this playoff.
I feel worse.
Oh, that's in a good way.
Yeah.
Like nothing changed in a positive direction.
No. And here's the thing, guys. I need your insight on Evan Mobley here, because you guys have championed Evan Mobley. He certainly this regular season took a major step forward. But the flaw, like you guys have both consistently said, he has to be the best player, the alpha on this team if they're going to win a championship. And the problem, as I see it from my standpoint, is like early in the game last night, he commanded the ball.
He
awesome. Took over. But there's way too many stretches, and maybe it's not his fault. I think he's got to take some of the blame, where he just disappears from the offense. And how do we correct that? Because it felt like the second half, I didn't even know if he was on the floor, because they don't get the ball to him. He doesn't demand the ball. Like there's got to be more a level of aggressiveness. And I get it, some of it's his teammates, but some of it's like, get me the effing ball. That's missing, it seems.
I saw Kevin Garnett do a podcast within the last year or so, just saying exactly that. Where
Okay.
and Evan has grown in that. This is before the season.
Yes.
Where KG was like, hey, Evan, you got to be a dog and come into the huddle and say, give me the mother effing ball.
Yeah.
And on the court, hand up. Yo, come to me.
Yeah.
Part of it, Evan is reliant. I mean, listen, the ball's in Donovan and Darius' hands most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's on those guys to feed him and get him going. That's what Kevin Love suffered from with Kyrie and LeBron. There's just not a lot of oxygen. You're waiting on them. But he can create for himself. Part of it is on him. We've seen him bring the ball up and initiate, and we've seen him get more comfortable with that. This is the evolution with him. That will continue to get better. I mean, I don't leave here shaking my head saying Evan Mobley was the problem in this series. I don't think that at all. What do you have last night? I just saw the numbers. What do you have, 24 and 11?
Right.
Or 24 and 11.
But it doesn't. He didn't take the playoff step.
But I mean,
to a level of dominance.
He had 12 shots. He should have had more shots last night.
Right.
And that's in his career.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley's played 25 playoff games. He's never taken more than 13 field goals in the game.
That's got to change.
And it's to what you said.
Yeah.
Partially on Evan
Yeah.
for not being more assertive.
Right.
When I played, and once again, D3 basketball, not the NBA.
Yeah.
When you have a big man who's in the post demanding the ball,
Yeah.
As a guard, you got to get him the ball.
But he's not always demanding the ball.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
So that's partially on him. Second, it's on your guards to see a mismatch.
Yeah.
If Indiana switch, how many times did we get stuck, when I say we, the Cavs,
Yeah.
with Max Strus or Darius Garland
Right.
on a big in the
They always
post?
got him the ball.
And as soon as it happened, what
Yep.
did Indiana do? Made it a point,
Every
get the
time.
ball in low.
Yeah.
It's called mouse in the house, let him
Yeah.
go to work. When Indiana switched, there were times where Jared Allen, who did not play well this postseason whatsoever, especially against Indiana,
Yeah.
had a little guy on him. When Evan would have a little guy on him, and whether for 100 different variations and reasons, I can't give you a specific reason why, Donovan, Darius, Ty, whoever had the ball, wasn't making that entry pass and letting him go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also on Kenny Atkinson, because there are certain times where if you call a timeout, run a damn play for Evan.
Yeah.
And tell your guards,
Yeah.
Donovan, Darius, we have to get Evan involved. I go back to the game against Boston when the Cavs lost their first game of the season. Do you remember how good Evan was early in that game? And then he didn't get a touch.
Nothing.
For almost the entire. And then late in the game, he
Yeah.
finally got a few more touches, and they started making a comeback. And I forget who asked the question, but someone asked Kenny, hey, do you think you should have got Evan the ball a little more? And Kenny said, hand up, my bad. I thought we were in the rhythm. I didn't want to call any plays to slow us down, but I should have got Evan the ball more. I thought last night in particular, and at other points throughout the series, but last night in particular, Kenny could have slowed the game down and forced in, run a play where Evan is the guy who's facilitating. And his usage rate in this playoffs, we'll talk about usage rate with other guys in a sec, in the regular season was 22.7. It fell to 16.3 in the playoffs. Evan Mobley should not have his usage rate go down.
That's crazy.
When the stage gets higher. If anything, I want to run more offense through Evan, especially if as a team you can't hit a three.
Right.
If they're not making threes, give the ball to Evan and try and get some easy.
And I think that was the frustrating thing, guys, as not an NBA diehard, is I get that the league is obsessed with three-point shots. I get that the Cavs have been great all year. But the entire series, really the entire playoffs, they have not shot the three well.
They shot it well against Miami. Against
All right.
Indy, they were abysmal.
I'm so blinded by this Indy series, I forgot. Okay, my bad. But in this series, they should, at some point, don't you have to say, let's score twos? I get it, three's worth more than two. But if you shoot, they were like 1 for, 15 or something at one point last night?
As a team, like I told you, they shot 25.7% on wide open threes.
They went 7 minutes without scoring.
I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Get the ball down low. They just didn't do it.
The offense as a whole in this series looked a lot like the offense we saw against Orlando last year.
Oh, yeah.
And looked a lot like the offense we saw against New York 2 seasons ago in the playoffs. And this Boston series, when Donovan got hurt, you can kind of parse that out just because of the available guys they had. But when push came to shove, after 82 games of reinventing the offensive wheel for this team and unlocking and giving confidence to guys like Evan and Jared and Darius to find their best selves, and having a bench with depth and Ty and Sam and all these guys contributing, when push came to shove against a good defensive opponent in Indiana in the playoffs, the offense reverted exactly to what we had seen the 2 years prior.
Is this the worst fall on your face by any number one seed ever?
You want to give the stat I gave you?
Oh, well, so, see, yeah, we'll get to that 1 second. This is not the worst playoff collapse in Cavs history, for the record. 2010 was way worse than this, but I don't think they were a 1 seed. When they lost to Boston in 2010,
And we looked that up.
in the second round, and they lost LeBron as a result. LeBron walks off the court, rips his jersey off.
Yeah.
That was 1,000 times worse than this. As bad as this feels in the moment, that was the end of everything. So that one was worse. 2009, they lost to Orlando in the conference finals. I believe they were a 1 seed then.
They were a 1 seed in 2010 as well.
Okay, that was worse. That was worse than this.
61 wins that season.
And I know you brought up the Spurs the year that was the year when Golden State won all those games. Weren't the Spurs a 60-plus win team that year?
That's the stat Mike's talking about.
Yeah.
So I looked it up on StatHead last night. Prior to this year, and I think Mike tweeted this, right?
I tweeted out, yeah. There it is. You can just read it, Jason. But
all right.
That's basically
so
what it is.
16 teams counting the 2 this year. Prior to this year, 14 teams have won 64 games with a
It's a 9-point win margin.
9-point margin of win.
Yeah.
13 of the 14 reached the finals and 12 won a championship.
Right.
Cavs didn't get out of the second round.
I know.
Now we'll see what happens with OKC, but the Cavs are the only team out of the 16 to not even.
No, the Spurs also lost in the semifinals.
Oh, they lost the
What year was that? It was
Yeah.
2016, right?
15,
The
16,
Spurs
yeah.
in 16, the Warriors are the other team that didn't win a championship
Right.
in 16 because obviously they lost the Cavs.
Right. But the Spurs weren't getting past Golden State anyway. So this is one of the worst series losses.
Yeah, I mean,
all
if you put it in
time.
the context of margin of victory and
Yeah.
total wins from the regular season, it's a
Yeah.
brutal collapse.
You know-
I'm just saying 2010 was way worse than this.
Yeah.
We were talking before we got on air
Yeah.
about just how I hate to admit it, and it really does pain me to say this, Bull,
Yeah.
but your whole tirade of the regular season's kind of irrelevant. Like, I have a hard time countering that this morning. The Cavs' regular season success
Yeah.
washed away in 5 games.
Right.
The Knicks went 0-10 against the best teams in the NBA. They're 1 win away now
Right.
from the Eastern Conference Finals, beating Boston 3 times already.
Right.
I have a hard time defending that anything we see in the regular season is not completely irrelevant, but I think the stock and the amount of stock we put into it is
More now than
It's-
ever.
It's two
Yeah.
different sports.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
a different sport in
Yeah.
the postseason because in the regular season, I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
In the regular season, you're playing a game every 2 days, 3 days, and the games are coming so fast. And a different assistant coach will have the scout for this game or for that game, and the strategy is a 15-minute meeting on the whiteboard before the game of, okay, here's your keys.
Yeah.
Box out, watch this guy, look at this guy. Okay, ready, let's go. And that's it. And you get to the play, and guys aren't playing hard, and you're managing minutes because you're waiting for this point. And then you get to this point, and then teams dig in, and they spend days poring over all of your sets. They know what you run as well as you know it.
Yeah.
And they build strategies based on what they see on film. I've had players and coaches tell me by the end of the playoffs, you know what they're running. Like, you know what's coming.
Right.
So it's a completely different animal. The Cavs, in the moment, we thought they handled it the right way. Like, they managed minutes. They tried to protect guys. All they were trying to do was get healthy, get to the playoffs healthy, and they still couldn't get that done.
Yeah.
And, and then as much as Kenny was saying guys were exhausted, guys were worn out, guys were gassed, Joe asked him last night, well, do you regret sort of limiting the minutes that you did during the regular season? Should you have played guys more to get them ready for this? And Kenny said, we had a plan. We're trying toward the end of the season to build guys up, to try and get 39 minutes out of Donovan. But then you get into the game and you're up by 20. And what are you going to do? You're going to play Donovan 39 minutes when you're up 20? No.
We'd kill him for that. If
So it's this balance that you're constantly trying to strike. And it just, if it could have gone wrong for them in this postseason, it did.
And it's I don't know if this is a problem for the NBA, but of the big 3 sports, it's the only one where, like, it doesn't, like, obviously the NFL, everything matters.
Yep.
And you say what you want, and somebody made the argument on my post game yesterday. It was like, well, baseball's playoffs is random, so the regular season doesn't matter. And I said, you could argue it doesn't matter in terms of being predictive in the playoffs, but it's so hard to make the playoffs in baseball that the regular season does matter. In baseball, you generally have to be very good to make the playoffs. Every once in a while, there's a division where everybody stinks. But for the most part, you have to be. Nobody ever makes the playoffs under 500. In the NBA, 2/3 of the teams make the playoffs. The NBA, if you watch the regular season, it's just about the entertainment value of the game itself, not about what it means for the postseason.
The baseball playoffs, the game changes a little bit with the way that relievers are used and bullpens are so heavily emphasized. But basketball feels like the sport that changes the most.
Oh, without a doubt.
Regular season to
games.
playoffs.
Yeah.
It's the entire game. Like, football is the same game.
I think you could argue, Jason, that the difference between the regular season and the postseason in the NBA is like the preseason and regular season in football.
I hear where you're going. I wouldn't go quite that far, but I hear where you're going.
I understand the point you're
In
making.
terms of preparation, right? Like in the NFL, in the preseason, you're just trying to kind of get guys ready for the year. You don't have a game plan. There's like no game plan. And then in the regular season, in the NFL, obviously you spend it all week. And in the NBA, you just talked about it.
You
Like,
pour it over.
there's no preparation in the regular season or
Very
minimal.
little. It's very little.
Yeah, in
It's
terms of
very
a
little.
game plan, maybe there's preparation.
Yeah.
How long did the Cavs went weeks without practicing?
Yeah.
So they practiced 3 times in 47 days.
Yeah,
before the
I mean-
All-Star break. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go back to when they won
Yeah.
the championship.
Yeah.
when you're the head coach, you don't have time to dig in and set the game plan.
Sure.
You're relying on your assistant coaches for that.
Yeah.
Then you get to the playoffs, and Ty Lue's the one that took over the defensive scout, and he would watch the film.
Right.
He would implement and then look at the Cavs' defensive numbers during the regular season, and then part of that was effort. They weren't trying that hard.
Yeah.
And part of it was what Ty was doing to build them out defensively.
Yeah.
It's a completely different game.
Speaking of coaching, we've talked about some of the players. We talked about some of the X's and O's parts of it that just didn't work for the Cavs. But I also think while some players didn't meet the moment, and I've enjoyed all the conversations we've had with Kenny Atkinson. He's been great with the media, Coach of the Year, well-deserved. I thought Rick Carlisle ran circles around him in this series. And this was the first time, and you pointed this out a bunch of times during the regular season, Jason, that Kenny Atkinson had never been in this situation before. Yeah, he's coaching the playoffs. He took Brooklyn to the playoffs, and that was a really nice accomplishment for a young team that had no expectations. But this was the first time the pressure was on him as a head coach to deliver. And on a game-by-game basis, certain adjustments, he threw out the 3-2 zone in Game 3, worked to perfection.
But then Indiana adjusted. And
they didn't make the adjustment.
Yeah.
And last night, he decided to bench Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, that makes sense. I understand it. But then when the offense is completely sputtering, I thought maybe he should have went back to – and it's easy to play Monday morning coach. I get all that.
And he did.
He did, and Jerome gave him a spark for a minute.
And then Jerome gave him the spark and
Yeah.
scored 8 points. He made 2 threes. That was the team's second
that
and
was
third
that for
three of the
him.
whole game.
Yeah.
But he gave him 8 points. There was a sport where he's – so, it's a learning experience, not just for the team, but I think maybe for more than anyone else. Like Kenny Atkinson
100%.
going through that process in that seat,
Yeah.
knowing what it takes to actually elevate your team, not just from a good regular season team to a great regular season team, but from a playoff contender to a championship contender. And you can't replicate that without going through it. And I'm not trying to give the Cavs a pass. I promise you I'm not giving them a pass. But I do think this is the kind of thing that sometimes a coach has to learn through and go through the devastation and disappointment to reach that next level. And I hope, I think Kenny can, knowing what we know about Kenny, kind of adapt and learn from this and tweak his approach to the game to put himself and his team in a better position the next time he's here.
He'll be better for this. Just like the players, in theory, should learn from this. He said last night, you learn more in losses than you do in wins. I think Kenny will learn a lot from this. And, there were times throughout these playoffs where I thought that I don't love that ATO. That's the whole – how many times we talked about when you're the coach, when you call a timeout to stop a run, and how many times did we see it in Indiana on the road in particular?
Right.
You need a play coming out of a timeout. And
Carlisle called a timeout 54 seconds into the second half yesterday.
Yeah.
Cleveland scored 2 buckets.
Well,
and then Carlisle called the timeout, and they went on a run.
I was listening to the network feed at that point, and Jared said one of the things they were talking about was don't let the Cavs get downhill. First 2 possessions, Cavs down the middle of the lane. He's like, nope.
And then it was all Pacers after that in that quarter.
And knowing when to use timeouts, knowing when to, again, what do you have coming out of the timeout? What's your best play? What's your go-to play? And we've seen, what a disaster that was in Game 2, where they couldn't get the ball inbound and couldn't get the ball across half court. Yeah. A lot of that falls on him. A lot of that falls on coaching.
And as you've pointed out a number of times, that was Ty Lue's strength.
I thought so, yeah.
Right. That was he would come up with the big call, and
I thought he was really good.
He did a great job in that situation.
And it's not just offensively. I mean, we could talk defensively too. There was a point, and I have the Halliburton threes.
Yeah.
Like they were playing drop coverage, and part of the reason they were playing drop coverage on Halliburton, which is on the pick and roll, you want Jared Allen coming back, stopping the drive, and allows the guy to come over and then get back to his man. But when Halliburton's making 2, 3, 4 threes in a row, at some point you got to change it up a little bit. I mean, this one, nice step back, but you'll see in a couple of the other ones, he has one from the logo where Jared's just in complete drop coverage. And I understand the premise of playing like right here. It's you could say the effort not there, whatever. He's in drop coverage. He's supposed to drop back because they don't want him in an isolation situation on Halliburton because Halliburton was torching him earlier in the series.
So instead you give him a wide open 3?
I don't think you drop that far, but change it up at some point. If it's not working and your back's against the wall in a Game 5 when you're down 3-1, blitz him, get the ball out of his hands, do something. I just thought they were too stagnant. I thought they stuck with the 3-2 zone too frequently in Game 4 after Indiana figured it out after Game 3. And like I said, I thought Kenny did a really good job in the regular season pulling all the right strings and putting all the right rotations together and making the substitutions. And in this particular series, I thought Rick Carlisle took him to school.
No doubt about it. And down the stretch, guys, like obviously it was a close game in the fourth quarter. The Pacers had the lead, but the Cavs kept cutting it down. And it felt like every time the Cavs started getting momentum, the Pacers would hit a big shot. Every time.
They got it within one a couple different times.
Yeah.
87-86.
Right.
And then Thomas Bryant scored 8 straight points in the third quarter, which is
Bryant.
crazy because Thomas Bryant, with all due respect, was like their 7th backup center this year. They got so many backup centers hurt throughout the course of the season.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they traded for Thomas Bryant in the middle of the season. They gave up, and look at what they traded for Thomas Bryant. It was nothing. He was a throwaway guy. And next thing you know, he's scoring 8 points when the Cavs, for stretches, struggled to score 8 points as a team. And Thomas Bryant, in the final 3 minutes of the third quarter in an elimination game, scored 8 points. And there's one play I want to point out real quick. And we pull up the Mitchell block. I think this play encapsulated the entire.
While Steve does that, they acquired a pick swap in 2031 for him, by the way.
My point.
So they gave him away for
And
nothing.
that's probably a second-round pick.
Second-round pick swap.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Second round, yes.
Steve, it's 267 if you take 267.
Going to take
But-
pick 40 instead of 45.
Yes.
But this
Yes.
play,
Yeah.
start of the third quarter, this is right out of the timeout, by the way. This is the first possession after Carlisle called a timeout. Cavs scored 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Carlisle calls timeout. Offensive possession, Cavs in great defensive spot. Mitchell gets the steal, and this is just, if running out of gas in a play is shown, this is the exact encapsulation of that. Donovan, healthy, dunks that every time.
Yeah.
90% healthy, lays it up. He slows down, allows Turner to catch up. Nemhard hustles back, gets Strus on the putback. The Cavs keep possession, but to me, like, if you were to put this series in one play, that was it. Missed opportunities.
And give, for all we're complaining about the Cavs, you got to give Indiana a lot of credit. Man, they played their asses off in this series. Like, the only guy that didn't shoot well yesterday for them was Nesmith. That was it. I mean, everybody shot well for them. Everybody played well. Who had a bad series for Indiana?
Nobody.
Like, they all contributed. Whoever they put on the court contributed. There was no Isaac Okoros on that team. There was no Dean Wades on that team. There was no Ty Jerome's on that team. And even Max Strus, who overall was one of the better players in the series, 0 points yesterday.
Yeah.
And apparently he sent a text. You guys know about this, but I didn't see it till this morning, telling everybody, hey, if you're not ready to win and blah, 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 don't show up. Well, he didn't show up. 0 for 9.
Yeah.
He believed in Cancun.
What's that?
He believed in Cancun.
He plays his ass off. Like
I know, but like you can't go 0 for 9, Mike. I don't care how hard you play.
I agree with you. Like they needed a couple of those to go in, especially late in the second quarter, early in the third. He got a couple good looks from 3 and just could not buy a shot.
No.
Not at all. Nothing.
Yeah. Really disappointing. Absolutely. All right. I know it's a little early, but let's keep it moving here. We'll get to
more
schedule
Cavs
game.
in a little bit.
We'll do more Cavs
Yeah, well,
later.
you want to tell people about MenuRX?
I do want to tell people about MenuRX. Spoke to my guy, Dr. Jake May, this morning, and whether you're looking to get in better shape, trim up, get a better physique, or lose weight or significant amount of weight, go to menu-rx.com. Work with nutritionists, scientists who study weight loss, study nutrition, not some big box store one-fits-all situation. If you want a diet or a plan to get you more fit, tailored to your specific needs, that's what they could do. One-on-one conversations. It could be covered by your medical insurance. You could use HSA or FSA to pay for it, even if it's not covered. So it might cost you nothing out of pocket. So go to menu-rx.com for your free consultation today. That's menu-rx.com. All right, guys. This is Jason's favorite time of the year. It is schedule night. Jason, how excited? Are you having a party at your house? You had a party for Mother's Day.
We did have a party.
And apparently a lot of food was eaten. A lot of good food was eaten. We have pictures of you cooking.
Yeah.
We have a rager for schedule release night. Kegs and
Yeah, well, you have a party tonight.
Absolutely not.
We are having a live stream at 8 o'clock, though.
I will not be part of it.
No, you
Live
Jason's out
reaction
for
to
that.
the Browns schedule release.
There'll be leaks throughout the day.
We already have one, the London game.
That's right.
Week 5, London, Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Of course it's week 5. Because
Why?
we have, Alessia and I have tickets to go see Nate Bargatze. He's in
I do
town.
too.
That's the weekend he's in town. And Alessia kept saying, like, I know the London, because she was going to come with me.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know the London game's going to be
Oh,
that
yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
I just know it. I just know it.
Oh, you
I
guys
just
would have
know it.
gone?
I mean, I I'm guessing we'll go to London and sell the tickets.
Right, yeah.
But we haven't really had that conversation yet.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
She loves Bargatze.
I do too.
So we're
going
forward.
also, but
well, we will not be there now. I don't think.
so you're going to go to London and blow off the concert?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not going to London, but
we'll see.
All right, but anyway, so yeah, we have that one schedule, and more things will pop out as the day goes along.
I've seen a couple of leaks that the Jets are going to be their Week 1 opponent. I have no idea the validity of it.
That was
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Week 2.
That was week 2. Right.
The Flacco game was
the
week
Flacco.
2.
No, that was 3 years ago.
Oh, it was Week 2. But
Right.
I'm saying it was 22 season.
Right, that was the year they beat Baker in week 1 against Carolina,
Yeah.
and then they blew
Yeah.
the game against Joe Flacco the next day. All right, so our question is, do you care about the makeup of the schedule, essentially? Like, do you want it front-loaded? Do you want it back-loaded? Jason's giving me he wants to kill me here. It's the day of schedule release. You know we're talking about it.
I was supposed to be on today.
I know.
Just for the record.
You weren't.
I got 2 hours of sleep last night, so I'm already cranky.
I like the schedule release because I just kind of like to plan out the season and see what the schedule looks like. What I always do on schedule day is try to figure out, do I need to pay for the
Sunday ticket?
The Sunday ticket. Because last year, like, the Bengals and Browns were almost never on at the same time for whatever reason, and I was able to see 14 Bengal games out of 17 on regular TV, and the other 3 I think I missed one, or I went to a bar to watch the other 2. So I got to know, hey, do I got to pay for the DirecTV this year so I can watch both? But anyway,
the Browns will be on Sunday at 1 o'clock, 14 out of 17 times.
This year? Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
We'll have a Thursday night game, a Monday. They won't be on Sunday, probably.
They will not have a Sunday night game. They probably will not have a Monday night.
I mean,
game.
it might be.
Although,
you
knows?
have the 9:30 London game, but we have Shador now.
With Shador, if
right.
if he gets the job or if he wins it at some point, they may flex them in later on in the year.
Well, that's if they're good, though.
They don't
flex them bad.
I don't know.
Necessarily.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
Well, if he's playing, you're right. Maybe the schedule will tell you whether the league thinks Shador is going to play at some point.
Now that they've got the flex rules, they
don't need to do that yet.
To your initial question, would you rather have it front-loaded or back-loaded?
Yeah.
You have no idea how good these teams are going to be, so you don't know what
you
you're
have some
getting.
idea with some teams.
You think, but
you could get it wrong. It could turn out to be wrong.
I would rather, though, if I'm the Browns, I would rather have this year's schedule be as front-loaded as possible. And that way, if the rookie does not win the starting job outright in camp, you're letting whoever wins between Flacco and Pickett take on some of the tougher teams earlier. And then when you inevitably make the quarterback change to a rookie at some point in the season, the toughest defenses that you can face are already behind you. And even though every defense in the NFL is tough to a degree, it's going to be a challenge for a rookie quarterback no matter who they're playing. I'd much rather see Shador or Gabriel or whoever's in that situation take on the likes of, like, Tennessee as opposed to Buffalo, or I can't even think of the teams on the schedule.
Yeah, well,
I just rather have it front-loaded, let the veterans take on the better defense.
I hear what you're saying about the defense. I more care about the team as a whole. I mean, teammate, like the Bengals defense might not be very good, but it's still going to be a tough game for Shador because he knows he's going to have to score a lot of points, or whoever, whether it's Dylan Gabriel. The problem with the front-loaded or back-loaded is that the whole Brown schedule on paper is loaded.
It's tough, yeah.
You can't put all the game. I mean, bring up. You guys got the schedule graphics. Let's bring that up. I mean, how on paper, right now, without knowing when these games are coming. Let's start with the home games here.
They're favored.
As of today, how many of these games are the Browns favored? These are at home.
1.
Titans. They'll be favored against the Titans at home.
I think
that's probably it.
Maybe Miami.
I doubt it.
I don't think they'll be favored against the Titans.
Now again, it's going to depend.
Got Cam.
No, they'll be favored against the Titans because the Titans suck even with Cam. And they're at home. The
home thing,
right? But as of now, listen. By the time they play the Dolphins, whenever that is, things will change. But if they're putting out point spreads today,
you're right. It's just Tennessee.
Maybe it's a pick 'em with the Dolphins, maybe. But if they're putting it out today, you're going to assume Tua is going to be healthy, which means Dolphins are probably a slight favorite. San Francisco coming off a bad year, they're still favored. Everybody else is definitely favored.
I'm looking at Pittsburgh. Look at their quarterbacks. I mean, right now, today, with their quarterback situation?
I think,
actually, I think Jason's right.
I think the odds makers are going to assume that Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback in that factor in there.
I don't think you could count factoring that in. If they're making the odds today, I hear what you're saying.
I think the Steelers would still be favored. Not by a lot, but they
Probably
would be.
a point.
The Steelers
point
got a
and
better
half,
team.
Maybe a point and a half.
It's definitely
yeah.
one, maybe two of tops. Maybe two
One,
tops.
maybe two, I think. All right, now let's go to the road games. Okay, now this is the road. You're definitely underdog on the bottom 4 teams.
Yep.
Up top,
Maybe New England, but I doubt it.
I'll say maybe the Jets.
they're
the
probably an underdog, slight underdog against the Bears. I think they're only favored against the Raiders.
So
Maybe New England. If the game's out today, I guess I don't know what the odds makers
Wait,
think of
they're
drinking.
going back to Vegas?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
How did you miss that of all people?
I skipped the trip last year. I didn't go.
I think last year they played the AFC West, the whole AFC West.
And
This year the Raiders are their team that finished in the same
slot.
it's how they had
slot,
the
yeah.
Texans 2 years in a row.
Yeah. That's why that's why the Colts and Patriots would play every year against each other, because they always finished in the same spot in the standings. So we're talking at most the Browns are favored
in 3
before the season,
At
4
most.
games total.
4?
I'll say 4.
He said at most if you give them Pittsburgh at home.
I'm
Maybe,
counting Pittsburgh.
probably 3.
Probably 3.
So-
probably 2.
Probably
Maybe-
2. If you made the spread
Probably 2, maybe 3. Best case scenario, 4.
And how many are they today an underdog by 7 or more points?
Steve, show me the list again.
So the list again.
7 or more?
Probably not that
That's
many.
a lot.
At home, I don't know. They're probably a 7-point dog to Baltimore and Buffalo. Not to Cincinnati, not to Green Bay. I'll say 2 games there. Buffalo and Baltimore, they're a 7-point dog, I say.
I don't even know if it's Baltimore being a division game. Would you get 7?
I think you would.
I think it depends
I
on-
think if that were the week 1 game and they were putting the spread out right now, the Ravens would be favored by 7. Maybe I'm getting too aggressive. Maybe it's 5.5. Maybe it's 6.
I have no idea. Buffalo for sure. I'm not sure about Baltimore.
They're a significant dog. I mean,
On the road, you're going to have a couple.
yeah,
All right.
go ahead.
Road.
Baltimore on the road.
All 4 teams on the bottom. You're a 7-point dog.
You're not a 7-point dog to the Steelers.
No, I don't think
I'm
so.
sorry. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
More
probably
games where you're a 7-point
there's probably
dog.
more games where they're a touchdown underdog than they're favorites.
Accurate. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
So I mean, so it's hard to come up with a schedule. The Raiders are bad. The Jets are not very good. The Patriots are probably not very good. The Titans are bad.
Yeah.
The Steelers have a bad quarterback situation, but we know the rest of their team is pretty solid. And that's it. Everybody else you're playing is good.
It's a tough schedule.
It's a tough schedule. And the Bears, I don't know. The Bears,
We talked about the Warren Sharp
Okay.
projections, but
yeah.
in the win total projections for 2025, the Browns
Yeah.
have the second toughest schedule. And then part of that's the AFC North and playing
Right.
the 3 division teams, but they had the second highest overall opponent
Right.
win projection when you add them all together as any team in the league. Like, it's not an easy schedule, which is kind of crazy considering the Browns finished 3-14 last year and have a 4th place schedule.
Yeah.
You would think that should give you some breaks.
The
But
4th place schedule is highly overrated because it's only 3 of your 17 games.
But I'm just saying, you would think a team that had a 4th place schedule and just
Right.
finished with the second worst record in football or tied for the worst record in football
Right.
would have not the second hardest schedule in terms of projection.
But when the other 3 teams in your division are all very good, or at least solid, if not very good, that makes it tricky because the other teams in the division get to play you.
Yeah.
As opposed to
Yeah.
you playing them.
That's fair.
So that factors into it. And if you look at who are the last place teams they're playing that they get for being in last.
Raiders.
Patriots.
No, not the Patriots because they're playing the whole AFC East.
Raiders.
I mean, the Patriots are last place, but everybody's playing them. It's
Titans.
Raiders, Titans, and then a team in the NFC. Who's their NFC? Oh, the Niners.
Niners last place.
So they kind of got screwed
That's what I'm saying.
in that one
yeah,
because
yeah.
the Niners are not a legit last place team.
That's my point.
So yeah, it's tricky.
Who do you think ends up being the week 1 opponent?
Well, the Browns have 9 road games and 8 home.
9 home,
Oh, 9 home.
8 road. But one of the home games
is Minnesota.
Minnesota in
in
London,
England.
yes.
So they've been at whatever reason they have started the season at home. I feel like almost every year.
Quite a few. At Carolina.
Yeah.
At Kansas City.
But I think
last year was home versus Dallas.
I think if you look at it the last 20 years, I bet you they've started home 15 times. So I feel like maybe they're due to be back on the road week 1 again this year. Last year they played
Dallas.
So it's been a
Fox primetime game.
and then the year before that was
Cincinnati in the rain.
Right, and the year before that was Carolina.
In Carolina, though.
So they've alternated between
I feel like they've had a lot of division games in week 1.
NFC and division.
They've had They've opened with the Steelers. They've opened with the Bengals.
They
Maybe the Ravens.
They tied the Steelers, right? Wasn't that a week 1 matchup?
I don't remember now if that was.
Yes.
Was that?
I think it was.
I didn't think that was week 1. They started 0-1.
No, I don't think they did. I think you're right.
Oh.
We'll have to double check that. I'm going to predict that they open the season at Baltimore.
I was going to say that.
I stole you.
You did. God,
They
I
did
hate
start
this
the
game.
season
Now you took my
0-1.
answer.
I was right.
You were right. It was 2018. They tied 21-21.
In week 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Damn straight.
That's the first year
I think they won the next week, didn't they?
No, they lost to New Orleans.
That's the year Q got fired.
Right.
They didn't win until week 3 against the Jets.
The New Orleans loss is when
Yeah.
that kicker missed like 5 kicks. I forget who the kicker was. They went to New Orleans and he was awful.
They blew the lead against the Steelers, didn't they? And that ended up in a tie, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Can you look at that box score, Anthony? I feel like they blew the lead and the Steelers tied it late.
He's looking that up.
Yeah.
If the leak I saw is correct, and I once again no idea.
No, the Steelers actually blew it.
Okay.
The Steelers
That
had
was way off.
3 touchdowns before by the end of the third quarter. We scored 14 in the fourth.
Look at that.
If the leak is right,
Yeah,
I saw him taking on the Jets in week 1.
right.
Oh, I didn't see that. Home or away?
When did they play the Jets, home or away? I don't
That's
remember.
It's an away game. If it's
an away
week
game?
1. Yeah.
So Jets on the road week 1. If that is the actual, if the leak I saw is correct, and once again, we'll find out at 8 o'clock, I'm not quite sure. But if they're taking on the Jets in New York week 1.
I'm going to pull a Jay Crawford right now. Should we do the show from New Jersey that week?
From my house.
From your house?
From the Lucas residence down in Atlantic Highlands, New
Now, but
Jersey.
you live far away. We could do it from my...
It's like 40 minutes.
We could do it from my father and my in-laws' house. They live like 10 minutes away.
Done. Steve, get the flights ready.
Yeah.
Going to Florence Park, baby.
For week
Florham Park.
Florham Park.
What did you say, Florence Park?
It was a late night, man.
No.
It's a late night.
And they don't play in Florham Park. I think that's their
It's a practice
East
facility.
Rutherford.
Yeah,
They play in
East
East
Rutherford
Rutherford,
is
yeah.
where they play. That stadium is so ugly.
It's terrible. MetLife's
It's the
terrible.
ugliest stadium.
Terrible.
What was that, Anthony?
I was just letting you know where we were going next, just so
Okay.
you guys were ready.
All right.
So 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
live stream on the UCSS channel. G. Bush, Earl, myself will be breaking down the schedule, finding out where the Browns wins are going to come. We'll play the schedule game on the Ultimate Brown stream tonight. We'll also do it tomorrow on the Show Bowl, so don't think you escape it. Jason,
Oh, Jason's back tomorrow.
you're back in.
Maybe.
Jason may have a
We'll
head
see.
cold. We'll see if Jason actually makes it in to play the schedule game. But 8
Yeah.
o'clock, we'll be streaming for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And
Breaking it down.
Breaking down what we can on the Browns
G.
schedule
Bush will
release.
have a good headline for that. Fans are shocked.
What
that
the
Browns-
media won't tell you about the Browns schedule release.
You know what? That would do clicks.
That
That would do clicks.
would do huge numbers.
I may change. I just have it as Cleveland Browns live schedule
Yeah.
release show. I may change it to the secrets behind the Browns schedule release.
What the media doesn't want
what
you
the
to
media,
know.
The league is
we
out
let
to get the
G-
Browns.
Can we let G do an Ultimate Cav show about Dallas getting the first pick?
Oh, yeah.
He could do just his own. He could do barbershop. It
Guys.
links right to UCSS.
The draft lottery is not rigged.
Have you been in there for that?
Yes.
Can you
I've been in the room.
Can you explain? We have a minute, right? Ed?
People
We got
believe
more than
anything
enough
now.
time today.
People
Go for
believe
it, Jason.
anything.
Will you tell us how that works? Because I saw a video from, and it's Ernst & Young, right?
Yes.
That's the one who does it. Yeah,
Yes.
like
And that's who did it when I was in the room.
they did it this year too. I saw
Okay.
the one this year. So will you explain how the actual process?
People
of that
would go to prison. People would go to prison if this was rigged. It is not rigged. So when I was in the room the year that the Cavs won the lottery to get Kyrie. It was me, Mary Schmidt-Boyer from the Plain Dealer, and I forget, there was two other. There's like 4 or 5 media representatives that they allow into the seclusion room. I'll just go through the whole thing. Like, why not? We got time. So you walk in the room, you hand them your phone, and I mean, again, this was 10, 12 years ago. I don't know. Now you probably have to give up your watch too. But you would put your phone in an envelope, and they put it in like a locked cabinet. And if you have to go use the bathroom, they escort you to the bathroom, and they stand outside the door and wait for you. And when you come out of the bathroom, they walk you back into the seclusion room, and you sit in this room. And the media people are up against the wall, and the team representatives. There's like 3 or 4 tables lined up, and they're sitting at these tables. And at the front of the table is a hopper with all the balls in it. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember now who does what, but there's a gentleman pulling the balls. They have number combinations. Yeah, I know. Shut up. I see you giggling over there. Like,
Mike looked at me.
Steve a look.
And all of the lottery combinations are blown up on these huge poster-sized boards that cover the wall. And someone, I think it's the Ernst & Young representative that officially calls that out. And they've got another guy with his back to the ball machine with a stopwatch.
Yeah.
And every 10 seconds they signal, raises, and they pull the ball. But he's not like, he's got his back turned to the, whole thing. He puts up his finger, they pull the first ball. He puts up his finger, they pull the second ball. After 10 seconds of spinning, you get to 4 balls. The guy from Ernst & Young walks across, and I forget that, like, it was like, the year the Cavs won, it was like 7, 9, 11, 13.
Yeah.
And when you get the 4-number combination, the guy from Ernst & Young walks over, finds the combination, and reads out the team that won the number 1 pick. And the year that I was in there, they said the Cleveland Cavaliers from the Los Angeles Clippers, because it was the Clippers pick.
Right, yeah.
And at the time, it was one of the greatest long shots to ever hit. It was like, I think, a 2.8% chance to hit.
Yeah.
And the room gasped. Like, it was the audible when it was Cavs by way of the Clippers, because everyone knew the Cavs had their own pick that was, so it was like, hey, they could go 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's one's drawn. Now they do it again. All the balls go back in, they spin, they spin.
Yeah.
Another stopwatch, another finger up, and they pull another 4-number combination. And then they read the board again. And if it, there was a duplicate, like if that comes up again, if the same team comes up, it doesn't count. You throw it back in and you redraw again. For the amount of people that would have to be in on this, for them to rig this, and the fact that they've been doing this for however many, 30 some odd years, or however long they've done this lottery system, you don't think if it was rigged, one person would blow the whistle by now?
Well, listen, people believe anything nowadays. You don't know what's real and what's not. You know, like on Twitter, which everybody uses, the check mark doesn't mean credibility anymore. So people just look at things on the internet and they think it's true. So, I mean, that's the biggest point, the last thing you said, is that when people talk about, like, sports being fixed in general, I'm like, you know how many people would have to stay quiet for their whole lives? Could you have a rogue player or a rogue ref cheating?
Yes.
Sure. But there can't be this grand conspiracy.
Pull this off.
Yeah, no.
And by the way, Ernst & Young is one of the most respected accounting firms in the nation.
Yeah.
Like, they would go down in flames, and their people would go to prison.
And what is the upside of cheating versus the downside if you get caught?
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't make any sense.
I know it's wild that Dallas won. It's wild.
Yeah,
it's totally wild. But you could go year by year and come up with probably 3 or 4 teams that if they win, it's a conspiracy.
Absolutely.
It's not, man. It's wild. It's fun.
Yeah.
I love being in that room. I thought I had a great time.
It's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
You have to be invited by the league. You can't just walk in.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
He's very special. You're
No.
That's what he said.
They try and have representatives, media representatives who cover teams that are in there.
Sure.
There's like 1 or 2 national writers that are in there.
Zach Lowe was in there the other day.
I saw a clip of his.
Very, very. It's worth listening to his.
And it's
podcast.
funny because, according to Zach, a couple of people in there knew this was trending toward Dallas before the last ball was drawn. When I was in there, and it was my first time being in there, and the Cavs representative in the room, like you always see Nick on the podium, Nick Gilbert.
Sure, yeah.
And everyone credited Nick for bringing him good luck, even though the drawing had been done an hour prior. So Jeff Cohen, who was no longer with them, he was Dan's partner. And so Jeff was in the room. And I was talking to him because once the numbers are drawn, they keep you sequestered in that room until
you can't leak the news.
It's like it's like an hour. You're in there for like an hour,
right?
And it's funny because then we get to watch the reaction of everybody else. And Jeff said that he had been studying all of the Cavs numbers. He knew they had.
He was like memorizing them.
Just to know. I mean, just because this was such an important coming off losing LeBron and everything else. And I can't remember now. They had like 250 combinations, I think it was, He didn't even look at the Clippers pick combinations.
Right.
Because who would ever think?
Yeah.
He was looking at the Cavs 200 set of 250 numbers.
Right, yeah.
And the Cavs, because they were the worst team, their number, it's the same number combinations every year based on if you're the worst team, second
Gotcha.
worst.
Yeah.
So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2, 3, 9, 2, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So it's all low numbers. And when the better teams with the worse odds have the higher numbers. So when I was talking to Jeff, he said as the numbers were coming out, they were high. And his heart sank because he's like, oh my God, this it's not us. And then to hear them call out.
Yeah.
So Zach's point was, I guess they knew because it was high numbers, a couple of the people in the room had figured out, hey, this is going to be Dallas. I can't remember the other team. Do you remember the other
Houston
team?
was
it Houston?
No, Philly.
No.
Philly.
It was, well, I didn't think it was Philly. But it was Dallas and one other team. And Zach said, like, those two teams knew it was down to them before anyone else in the room had figured it out. Because there's just so many number combinations.
Yeah.
But
who ended up with
fun.
the rest of the top three? I didn't even pay attention.
San Antonio is the second pick. Philly's the third.
San Antonio.
Well, who's the second player in the draft? Is there a slam dunk second player?
Dylan Harper at Rutgers.
Oh.
San Antonio.
They didn't even go to the tournament, right?
They're going to have the second and third pick in the draft and miss the tournament.
And missed the tournament.
San Antonio, I mean, you want to have a Giannis conversation, that's a Giannis conversation.
Yeah,
Once you
right.
give up the number 2 pick to bring Giannis to now you have to make the money match.
Right. Speaking of which, we got to talk about the future of the Cavs.
Let's do it.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, guys, as we bounce back into the Cavs, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand that offers a wide range of products from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but there are 5 brick-and-mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help you make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simply, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, you just have to head over to buckeyecu.org for more information. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified.
All right, guys. So, by the way, there's been some more schedule leaks real quick before we move on. The Cowboys hosting the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. It's an interesting game.
So the Chiefs play Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yep.
They requested
and they're
play
going
Christmas.
to Brazil week 1. Nothing seems to faze them, though. Anyway, okay. So this week I am every week for Little League there's somebody in charge for the week, like one of the managers. So this is the week that I'm in charge of Little League. So I'm at the Little League a lot anyway, but because this week I'm there every moment. I must have had 100 people in the last 2 days. What are the Cavs going to do this offseason? Mm-hmm. What are they going to do this offseason? I said, listen, I got to talk to Jason and Mike. I don't know what the hell's going on with this second apron nonsense. But from what I believe is the case is they really can't do much of anything. Is that the case? Or do I have that information wrong?
As they are currently constructed, no,
Yeah.
there's not much they can do.
So
Can I read
even
you
if the money works, they can't trade superstar for superstar.
No, you
in
can
theory.
if the money matches.
Okay.
You can.
So what's the restriction? What is the exact restriction? Go ahead.
This is from, I'm going to read this word for word. This is from
Yeah.
2 paragraphs real quick from John Hollinger's piece this morning in The Athletic
Okay.
on the Cavs and what the second apron and restrictions mean.
Yeah.
This is from John Hollinger, word for word. Unfortunately, in the apron world, every dollar counts, even if ownership is willing and able to shoot money out of a fire hose. The Cavs are $27.3 million over the projected 2026 luxury tax line with only 10 players under contract. Even if they fill those last 4 roster spots with minimum contracts, the Cavs will be roughly $34 million over the tax and $15 million over the projected second apron line of $207.8 million. Being in the second apron subjects Cleveland to a draconian transitional regime. It means the Cavs cannot sign any free agents for more than the veteran minimum, cannot make any trades that aggregate salary or take on more money that is being sent out.
What is aggregate
They can't
salary?
combine 2 salaries to match Giannis.
Aha. So they can't trade for Giannis.
We said that the other day.
We told you that already.
Maybe you weren't on the show.
I don't think I was
Yes.
here.
So they can't aggregate money.
Okay.
They can't take on a single dollar more than they're sending out.
Right.
They cannot sign and trade their own free agents. they cannot use cash in trades that incentivize salary dumps. And that calculus is before they spend any money to bring back free agents like Ty Jerome or Sam Merrill, or try to add another wing with size or attempt to add another piece by putting their 2031 first-round pick in play.
So the only way that they could have, in theory, traded for Giannis is if they traded a player that is making equal or more money than him.
I don't think you mentioned the frozen pick, because that's really important.
And that
too.
frozen, I did not make, that was later.
So if they're a second apron team next year, and by all accounts right now they're going to be, their second-round pick is frozen in 2033, which means you can't move it, can't trade it. So that leaves them 2031 and 2032. They could trade one, but not both.
First-round pick.
First-round pick.
Okay.
So you can move one of those, and that's it.
Right.
And then if you stay in the second apron for, I think it's 3 years in a row, that pick drops to 30th automatically.
So even if you finish with the second worst record in basketball, your pick would drop to 30.
Yeah.
And it's all those years out to be even more punitive, because you're probably not going to be they figure you're not going to be very good at that point because your contention window's now.
Right.
So they're like, the owners have really locked themselves down on this stuff.
Yeah, so I wonder why they did. I guess they did. You can't trade the money in the aggregate because they're like, that team's probably already good. We don't want them trading two mediocre players for a great player.
Yes, they're stamping out super teams. They're trying to prevent owners from being able to build super teams. That's why you can't aggregate.
If you reach the second apron and you're not championship capable, you're completely screwed.
I've said on the show 100 times,
right.
You have to be whole when you get there.
Yeah.
And that's what, so there's like, when Phoenix got there, Phoenix just had an owner in Matt Ishbia who, they all go through this. They've got the big, energy going on, and they just spend like crazy.
Right.
Give me stars, give me stars.
And it completely failed.
But they had so many holes on the rest of the roster.
Right.
You can't operate that anymore because you have no levers to pull to make your roster better. If you go into the second apron, your roster better be whole. And the Cavs were probably going to be a second apron team next year, probably. And the Hunter trade ensured they were going to be a second apron team. Right. And they're okay. When they made the deal, they were okay with that.
Right.
Because it felt and looked like a pretty whole roster.
Yeah.
And if you're able to bring back Ty Jerome, you can keep all of the key pieces of this roster.
You keep your top six together if you bring back Ty.
Right.
And you have, I've said, we've talked about this on the show. I think you have a 3-year window. You had this year, and you have 2 more years. And then for sure, you got to blow this thing up.
Yeah.
I've had people in the league tell me, nope, they got 1 more year. It's this year and next year, and that's it. Now, it really
what's the reason? Are they saying that because of unhappiness from maybe Donovan?
No. Financials, the punitive of tax penalties.
For example, in the second apron, if Ty Jerome signs a $10 million contract with the Cavs, it cost Dan Gilbert $62 million.
So, $62 million?
Yes.
Does he care about that? That's a lot.
That's one player, but when you add that out for the whole roster.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
To answer that,
go ahead.
Everyone says Dan will spend, and Dan will spend.
But that's a lot for Ty Jerome.
The last year LeBron was here, they were a repeat offender, and the taxes were more punitive, and they absolutely affected some of the decisions they made. I think they moved on from Andy. No, was it Andy? No, I can't remember now. But they made roster moves that year to try and cut salary, because and now the taxes are even more punitive than they were 10 years ago. So yes, he will spend for sure. Dan wants to win. He wants to win without LeBron.
Yes.
It's imperative to do this. Because right now his legacy is he won with LeBron. He wants to win one without him. So he will spend. But all of these guys have a pressure point where it just becomes too much.
So let me ask you guys this. I think a couple of weeks ago we all thought that this team could eventually win a championship.
Yes.
Call me prisoner of the moment if you will. I don't think this team as currently constituted can win a championship. Do you guys still believe that they can win a championship as currently constituted?
That's not an easy question to answer.
It's not. It's hard.
One thing real quick. If they want to get out of the second apron, there are ways to maneuver out. But it would require Isaac Okoro makes $11 million and Dean Wade makes, I think, $6.5 million.
Okay.
So you could cut that $17.5 million.
Right.
But you can't cut it. You have to find where you got to find a team with cap space and trade it into space.
Both of those guys are not free agent. Well, Okoro I know is.
He's 2 more years and Dean has 1 more.
Dean next
so you'd have to trade them both for essentially
nothing.
Well,
You're just trying to get off
doesn't the money have to match when you make a trade?
It does, but like non-guaranteed, like there's ways to do it.
I got you.
If a team has cap space, you can trade it into
cap space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot of teams have cap space, unfortunately.
How much
And it's also important to point out,
yeah.
Isaac Okoro, who's going to pay $11 million for Isaac Okoro? He's not a hot commodity.
Right,
So
especially when you have nothing to sweet the trade
That's
with.
You have to
Yeah.
give a pick, and they don't have.
Yeah,
they have
yeah, yeah.
second
They
round
don't-
picks, but
So
that's
it
it.
would be just somebody bailing them out, which
Yeah, it's so you could dump them. In theory, you can
Yeah.
dump Isaac. You can dump Dean. And Dean, I think, actually has a little bit of value because he's on an expiring deal, $6.5 million. It's not
Yeah.
a lot of money. Big, long, athletic, can shoot threes, can guard, defend. We've seen in 3
theory.
years he hasn't been great in the postseason. But I think Dean would be more appealing than Okoro
Yeah.
would on the open market. Isaac, I don't know who's going to take
Yeah.
on that contract. But theoretically, you could cut that money, get out of the second apron, and operate as normal.
and what was the projected over the second apron they were?
I think it's 15.
Right now,
Yeah.
let me pull it back.
And does
up.
that because okay,
They're
so-
projected $15 million over the second apron, and that's with 10 players on contract.
and that's without Ty Jerome.
That's without Ty Jerome
So-
and 3 other league minimum guys.
So in theory, to get under the apron, you'd have to let Ty Jerome walk. You'd have to trade Dean Wade.
By the way, you're losing Sam Merrill too. He's
Yeah.
a free
so
agent.
you'd have to let Merrill walk, let Jerome walk, trade Okoro, trade Dean Wade, if that's somebody who's willing to take those guys, especially Okoro.
And sign
and then
6 veteran
replace
minimum
them with
guys.
veteran minimum players.
Yep.
Yes.
And then they'd be under. But that you would have traded your entire bench.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm saying.
you'd have 6 legitimate players.
That's why I'm saying theoretically they
Yeah.
can get out of the second apron.
yeah.
Or I mean,
You go for it one more year.
Okay.
or you trade Jared Allen. But even
Right.
that doesn't get you out of the. It doesn't get you out because you're not trading for nothing.
Right.
You're acquiring money for.
Same thing if you trade Darius Garland.
So they are a
Yes.
second apron team.
Yeah.
Next.
So real quick before you go.
Yeah.
The caveat with all the discussions we have this offseason is, does the trade make sense? And is it financially possible
Right.
under the second apron? Because a lot of
that's
these
the
deals
tricky thing,
in
right?
on paper and theory sound awesome. Yeah, package Darius and Allen for Giannis. I don't think that gets you Giannis anyway,
No.
but like that's
Right,
not
right.
actually possible.
That's the thing, guys.
It is
You
not
can't
possible.
Obviously, you can't trade for Giannis. Even if they could, I don't think they have the weapon.
Jimmy Haslam ain't trading Giannis here.
You stole my line.
Well, you did that.
yeah.
You stole my stat last night in the article. So
I
I, just
texted
did
him
it.
that. I
You stole
texted
the
him.
article?
I
It would
Pick
texted.
up for the Browns.
No, I texted him that the other day. I said,
Yeah.
"You think Jimmy is going to help deliver a championship to another Cleveland
Doesn't
team?"
he owe it to Cleveland?
Yeah, you convince him
He
of that.
screwed the football team
You
over.
convince him of that.
Okay,
There's
well-
zero. Matt Ishbia is not sending Kevin Durant to Cleveland.
Right.
Jimmy Haslam is not sending Giannis to Cleveland.
Okay.
So take out the fact that it's financially
Okay.
impossible. The owners of those teams are not going to help the Cavs.
Makes sense. Giannis, you can't do anyway, so it's irrelevant. Even if you
Durant, you can't do either.
Durant. Okay, so do you guys have a realistic target? Like, is there
Yeah.
somebody? And let me ask you this before we get to those targets.
I have one.
Are the Cavs better off? And I don't know that there's that many guys like this anymore because obviously the game has changed. Are the Cavs better off replacing Darius Garland with a true pass-first point guard? I know there's not that many
Do they
guys like
exist
that.
in the NBA today?
I don't know. Is there
TJ
anybody?
McConnell, like
No, you don't trade Darius for another point guard. You trade Darius
For-
if you go this route.
Yeah,
for a
go
win.
ahead.
You trade Darius and you make Donovan your point guard.
for,
Okay.
for a wing. Yeah.
Right, and this way,
I don't think there's a massive market. I was talking to an executive with a different team as I was walking to the door, as I was
Yeah.
driving in this morning. And I said, I don't think there's much of a market for Darius at $40 million. He
Yeah.
said, I don't either, but there's other teams that like him.
okay.
I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you get for him. I don't know. And I don't even know necessarily. And the point he was making is it's really hard to win with two undersized guards. And the Cavs are finding that out.
Yeah.
I think Jared is the move. If it's
You don't
up
think
to
they
me-
should try to trade both?
No, I would.
Okay.
No. I would trade Jared. Darius wants to be here.
Right.
And-
But the only reason I'm saying that, Jason, is Evan Mobley's got to be at worst second in shot attempts on this team, doesn't he? And can that happen if Darius and Donovan are both here?
It can, but it takes a concerted effort
Yeah.
to do that. Like everyone has to be bought in on that.
Yeah.
I would move Jarrett. But the other point, I was talking this morning on the way in, the guy I was talking to works in a front office, said the Cavs may be the first test case under this new second apron life. Like Boston is the first, but Boston has a championship.
Right.
So they can say, hey, we won.
All right.
We're
So
done.
that's
We're
it,
out.
yeah.
Especially with Tatum now.
Yeah.
Like Boston may get out
They
of the
may
tax
blow.
entirely.
Yeah.
Because what are they playing for at this
Right,
point?
right. Especially with Tatum might miss the whole season next year.
And they got
There's no might. He's out.
They got to get under the luxury tax. They're not a repeat offender when he is healthy and they start to build it up again.
So will the Cavs?
So his point was, the Cavs might be the first team in this new world to really be put to a decision of, do we forge ahead in this and keep going for it and try to win, or do we pull back and back off and try to retool? It's hard because there's no roadmap for this.
Don't you think they have to go make some change, whether it's Allen or Garland? I don't and go for it at least one more time.
Yeah, I don't think. I wrote about it this morning.
Yeah,
I don't think this team is tough enough. Period.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can apply that to on the court physicality on the court, getting pushed around. You can apply that to injuries. I just don't think they're tough enough.
You're right on.
And Jared is part of the problem with that.
Yeah.
And this is 3 years in a row. And I hate to keep saying, we talked about it this morning, and I keep saying Jared. And it's not like I'm trying to blame Jared Allen for 3 years of failures.
Sure.
And I'm not. But he's the one piece I think you can most easily break off. You can get something for.
Yeah.
I think he's got value. He's under $20 million contract for one more year, and then it jumps to $30 million. And this is 3 years in a row of the postseason. We know what happened 2 years ago against the Knicks, where he said the lights were too bright, and Mitchell Robinson just absolutely abused him. And then last year with the whole fiasco over the rib, and now this year, 11 points and 6 rebounds in 2 games, the last 2 games of the series. I just think that's the piece. I don't know how you bring him back. I said that last year, though, and they brought him back. So that's where I would start, is breaking that off and seeing if you can get some more size and another shooting wing for him. It's hard to trade a non-shooting big for a wing who can shoot. It's really hard. And I can't give you a name right now. We're less than 24 hours.
Yeah, sure.
I want to see how the rest of this plays out. But, I mean, you think the Lakers would want Jared Allen? He'd be a perfect fit on the Lakers.
Right. So but is there somebody from the Lakers that...
Rui Hachimura?
But I don't know.
Does that make you significantly
I don't
better?
know enough about him to know if that makes me excited.
And also, I'm not sure that the money. I think the money would work on that. I'm not sure. Is LA a second apron team?
No.
Guys, I can't. I don't know how. I know it's the job. I don't know how I can watch the Cavs play in the regular season next year. How am I supposed to do that?
I think there's a lot of people that are going to feel that way.
Donovan said at his exit meeting today, we can go 82-0 in the regular season.
It's irrelevant.
Next year. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And he's right. In terms of the future of this team.
Yeah. You said you had a player in mind.
I did. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to stand on their soapbox and say you have to blow this thing up, I have nothing. I have no defense against that. And if someone wants to stand on a soapbox and say they should run it back, bad luck, whatever reason, injuries, all that, they deserve another chance with the coach, second year with Kenny. Give it one more shot because you know the bill's coming and eventually it's going to have to break up. And can you make a marginal trade that actually makes you better? I'll hear that argument. I don't know how. It's too soon after the immediate aftermath for me to have a definitive either way. I will say, making trades just to make a trade, oftentimes, is a step back. If it's not a tangible upgrade at either position,
which is going to be hard to do,
and that's my point.
Yeah.
And that's why I hear the credence. And once again, I don't know how I feel, but I'll hear the argument of Boston doesn't have Tatum next year. We won 64 games in the regular season. Maybe they just need another. I'll hear it. I'm not saying I feel either way. The one name that I love, and I'm not sure this makes sense from their side, but Houston has a plethora of wings. And they got a bunch of dudes who have been coached by Ime. Ime is, in my opinion, the toughest coach in the NBA. Jason, if you disagree, by all means, tell me there's another tougher coach. He only wants players. He won't play you if you don't meet a certain level of toughness on and off the court. And Tari Eason is a guy who's been buried, not necessarily buried on their bench, doesn't play nearly as much as he could on a bunch of different teams because they have 4, 5, 6 wings that are all really good.
How big is he?
6'7", long arms, relatively good shooter. Not an elite shooter, but an absolute hound on defense.
So what's the trade?
Something with Allen. And if they decide to go away from Steven Adams, and they like playing that 2-big lineup with Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams in the playoffs, Jared Allen for Eason. I don't know if the money. I'd have to do a little more digging out and getting the exact details. But Tari Eason's a guy that I think stylistically, attitude-wise, he brings. I don't want to use the word junkyard dog because that had its time and place in Cleveland. It's kind of been washed out. He ain't a dude you want to see in an alley late at night. Let's just put it that way. Like tough dude.
Okay.
Ain't afraid to scrap it up. He's built just like DeAndre Hunter. Little, not as long lengthwise in wingspan, but a little more physical, and he hounds dudes for 94 feet. That's a guy that I think you could bring in if the price is right. And I'll look up his contract if you filibuster for a second.
He also averaged 12 points a game last
Yeah,
season.
he's good. No, he's legitimately a good player.
Good offense too.
Legitimately a good player. 3-and-D wing, emphasis on the defense, and just an attitude change.
What are you doing? Let's say you make that trade. Who else is playing center for the Cavs?
One of your vet minimum guys you got to find is your backup
Like just
center.
some scrappy dude who can play some defense and give you a putback or two when you need it. I mean, that's what you're doing.
I mean, in theory, you're closing games with Mobley, Hunter, Eason, Mitchell, and Garland. Like that.
Right.
That's your closing five.
You guys don't think they should trade Garland at all, or it's just not a trade?
You can have that conversation.
Yeah, I'm willing to hear any. I'm open to any discussions this up. My approach to the whole Cavs offseason, I'm willing to listen. But I'm not quite sure if the value for a point guard that makes $40 million a year, who's been injury plagued in back-to-back postseasons, and even though he had a great regular season, his postseason numbers are not the same as what they are in the regular season.
And there's questions about his maturity and toughness.
At $40 million, I'm just not sure what you're getting back that necessarily.
Well, you got to be. I mean, the Cavs need to be open-minded to the right offer for Darius Garland, I think. Now, you're right. There may not be an offer that's worth making, but they have to be open-minded to it.
The East is wide open. It's wide open.
Yeah.
Especially with what happened the other night in Boston or in New York with Boston.
Yeah. I mean,
for as awful as it feels today, and it feels awful, they're not that far away. They're still right on the precipice. It doesn't feel that way, but they are.
Yeah.
They're still a really good team.
But, Jason, the one thing, I mean, you said they're not tough enough, right?
They're not.
How is that going to change? If you don't make changes to the roster,
I agree.
How is that going to change?
I agree. But I don't think that it's like a blow it up scenario.
No, I agree. Of course. I
think it's a you make one tweak if it's the right tweak.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I was talking to somebody about this last night. We talked about on the show when we had Jared Greenberg on.
Yeah.
I believe Donovan is obsessed with winning. He's consumed by it.
Mm-hmm.
He's farther along that path than a lot of the other guys in that locker room.
Right.
And I don't know how you catch them up, because that brings toughness inherently.
Right.
When you will cut off your leg to win a game, which that's the point Donovan's at, because he's made all the money, he's made all the NBA teams. The only thing left, the only hole he has is winning. And some of these other guys, I think they're still earlier in their careers. They're still a little bit younger.
Yeah.
They maybe haven't had some of the devastation and heartbreak that Donovan has. They're just not at that point. And some guys, frankly, never get there.
Right.
Like,
They
just don't. But when you find that inside of you that I have to win, nothing else will satisfy me, that goes a long way in bringing out toughness and all that other stuff that we're talking about.
I have the deal. Yeah. I have the official deal. And shout out to my guy Luca at Real Cavs Fans. He texted me this last night.
Okay.
We were going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
His money projection's spot on. The Rockets are losing Steven Adams. I mentioned that before. They like playing the two centers together with Şengün and Steven Adams. Jared Allen's an upgrade over Steven Adams. Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr. They make $20 million on the dot. You finagle that last dollar there.
Jabari Smith was a high pick who hasn't panned
Third
out,
overall
right?
pick. He's 22 years old, 4-5 combo that can shoot a little bit.
Yeah.
Hasn't reached his potential, but also has been in a weird situation in Utah where they have 38 dudes.
Yeah.
Eason's a guy I love. That gives you two wings. There's your backup center right there. That's the deal I'd make right now.
You know,
I think that makes the Cavs better.
the Cavs
and more versatile.
And it may, like, the Cavs may be in a situation where you make a trade and, like, maybe they trade Darius Garland for two players, because you can do it the opposite way, right? You could trade. You can't.
You can take two players for Garland.
In the aggregate for Garland.
Yes.
You just can't trade Garland and another player for Giannis.
Correct.
That way. But, like, maybe they're better off getting two players who are not as good as Darius.
Basically what I just...
Yes.
Yeah.
And they just need to bring in some tough guys, some guys who are as obsessed with winning as Donovan is.
They have to find their Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis.
Yes.
In whatever form that looks like.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before, but in the old world, prior to the second apron and that whole, it used the old adage in the NBA used to be 4 quarters don't equal $1. If you've got $1 player, you never trade $1 player for 4 quarters.
Right.
because you're not going to be as good. And I've asked a couple people, like, is that still true? And the answer has been like, we don't know yet. Like, we just don't. It's just too new.
Yeah.
But because I said earlier, like, I asked, is the second apron here to stay? And the answers I've gotten back is, oh yeah, this isn't going anywhere.
Right.
And I keep screaming the owners made a bad deal, and the response is, who do you think negotiated the deal? And I said, how did like Ballmer and Lacob and those guys allow this to happen? And the answer was, they're the ones that wanted it to happen, because it's a lot easier to not have to shell out the money and throw your hands up and say, well, sorry, it's the
Ballmer
rules.
just let Paul George walk for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be potentially a genius move, because Paul George was absolute doggy doo-doo this year.
It's going to be fascinating. And, you know, in terms of that analogy of the 4 quarters being worth $1, I guess it depends what dollar it is, right? Like a LeBron in his prime is a different dollar than Darius Garland.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
and you can argue, is Darius really a max player? And you, like, I've had teams tell me, we don't think he's a max player.
Right.
But with the position the Cavs were in, you kind of have to give it to him.
But like,
and it's just like Evan last year. You could have argued, well, do you really have to give Evan a max deal? Has he really proven to be a max player? Well, that's just where the league is at right now, and especially in a market like Cleveland. And we wrote it last year. His agent told him, don't bring him to Cleveland, and they brought him anyway. Well, guess what? He's happy.
Yeah.
He's good.
Right. But you have to pay him.
Now you got to pay him the max, whether he's worth it or not. You got to pay that.
Right. And with Darius.
And luckily he's evolved. And,
sure. I just think, like, I could be wrong, but it's got to be the right 2 players. I just think turning Darius into 2 good, like turning Darius who's a borderline all-star
he's an all-star. He's a multiple-time all-star.
Definitely an all-star.
So Darius who's an all-star.
But not every all-star is a max player.
Sure. Into 2 good players who are not quite all-stars.
Here's part
if that's realistic.
If it is,
could be good.
It's worth it. I'll do way more deep diving on potential trades this summer. It's a lot easier to find salaries that match $20 million than find a couple salaries to match $40 million, because the days of mid-range, mid-price guys don't exist, for Jason's point. When these young guys get a chance to sign their contracts,
they get max deals.
They get these max deals, and then veterans who are on the free agency market because of the apron now are making less and less.
So you're saying it's going to be hard to trade Darius because he's making $40 million?
I think that's a legitimate roadblock. I'm not saying
I think there are teams who are interested in him, but it's not like they've got 20 calls coming in.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I just think it's hard to get.
It's going to be fascinating.
It's hard to get to $40 million in salary with 2-3 guys.
Yeah.
When guys are either making $33 million or like $10 million. You see, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of 12, 14s to add up.
The add up can't be over $40 million.
Has to be exactly.
It's a tricky thing, but I don't know if the Cavs care about this, and the Cavs do well attendance-wise. But if they want anybody to like be excited about the regular season, you've got to change the roster up. Now, that's not the reason to do it, but
you can't let that.
You can't let that affect you. But I think they need to change the roster anyway. I just don't like the idea of bringing back the same roster again. But
can I show you guys one? I told Jason this morning, and we put up the core forward net ratings. When we look at the regular season versus postseason success, right? Mm-hmm. We could argue about like what it is that isn't working, but we have tangible statistical proof now that in the playoffs, this iteration of what they're doing just hasn't had the same success as in the regular season.
Right.
Over the 3 playoffs they played together, the core 4 has played only 260 minutes in culmination as a whole. Look at the net ratings. Barely above a 1 in 2022-23.
That would have been the Knicks series.
That's
and
the
only
Knicks
the Knicks
series. Minus 6.3 last year. That's the 2 series combined. This year,
that was just a partial Magic series because Jarrett missed the entire. Boston
there
series.
you go. So that's
it's just a couple
of games, and then this year, I know Darius missed, but this is just when all 4 played. The core forward and net rating minus 11.
Awful.
You want to be in the plus. Anything in the minus means it didn't work. If you look at just the guards, the Darius-Donovan combination, which we've seen work at strengths. Next graphic, whenever you're ready. We've seen it work in times. We've also not seen it in the playoffs work to the same level it's worked in the regular season.
So they've gotten worse every year.
Yes. And then this one, Darius missed part of the series, and when he came back, they got smoked in Game 4 when both those played.
So that's 2 games. This year is 2 games of Miami.
And 3 games of Indiana. Last year, Donovan missed the end of the Boston series, but they played the rest. It was a minus 4.9, and in 22-23, it was a minus 1.6. And then the bigs, the combination of Jared and Evan Mobley. Same thing. In the series against the Knicks, they actually had a positive net rating, ever so slightly. Last season, the few games Jarrett played with Evan, it was minus 3.1. And this year against Indiana, those two on the court together in over 460 minutes in totality have a negative net rating. We know these lineups work in the regular season. There's not a lot of evidence that say it works in the postseason, and that's why I think the Cavs, Kobe Altman, Kenny Atkinson, anyone in that front office, Mike Gansey, Dan Gilbert, have to be open-minded to any and all discussions as long as it doesn't involve Donovan and Evan. Those two are off the table.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone else, I think, is a tradable part this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. They should be listening to offers on any player besides those two. And as far as we know, Donovan's still happy, right?
Oh, yeah. He said last night how much he loves playing in this arena. And
his presser was
the crowd was awesome. I mean, the way the crowd, I mentioned this to you last night, and all fan bases do this now, refs you suck chant, that is beyond lame.
No,
that is beyond lame.
Yeah, they all do.
All fan bases do it. But when Donovan missed those first two free throws, and the crowd was like trying to,
it got loud. It got real loud.
That was pretty cool. That I know he missed that third free throw, but that was cool. The whole crowd was like, "We love you. Come on, we believe in you."
When they were making that comeback, and did you stay down in the press room the whole game?
Yeah.
Okay. First quarter, electric. Second and third quarters, until Ty had that last little stretch in the third, it was dead.
Yeah.
It was dead, and they weren't making shots. I don't blame them. When they cut it down to 86, 87, it got loud. I'm talking like loud, and you could feel it was on the precipice of just an absolute explosion. The Cavalanche machines, Jason, which you could mention in a sec, were about to be fired off for the second time in the playoffs. They could never tie the game up, and they never took the lead. And I kept looking at her up saying, hey, one stop, one bucket. Changes the entire momentum. And if that had happened, it would have been an opportunity for Cleveland to kind of seize the game, take back the crowd control, and use some of that energy to help them close out because they just didn't have a ton of energy. We saw them leaving every jump shot short. And whenever it came down to that 1 point possession or a 3 point game that they couldn't get that stop, they couldn't get that bucket. Donovan made 3 threes down the stretch, but then he missed 3 free throws. They were so close, and just couldn't finish it. But Jason, I do think it's worth mentioning your little Cavalanche story here before we move on.
Oh, everybody knows that they love the Cavalanche. Dan leaned into it. Dan loved it. And so they installed these Cavalanche machines that would blow confetti or fake snow or whatever into the lower bowl.
Yeah.
They paid more than $500,000 for these Cavalanche machines. Used it once in the playoffs. They got to use it one time.
Are they going to stick around for next year? It was game 2 against Miami when they made the 11 threes.
I'd want more than one blow off for my $500,000 investment.
Pause.
Oh my God.
But real quick, Donovan last night, we haven't really talked about
his press conference was interesting.
Yeah, for 8 minutes talking about y'all going to write some shit about us, and said that a few times, and y'all going to
write us the F off.
Yeah, and it was like it was a different tone, and I'm sure it's just I wrote that he went through like all 5 stages of grief in 8 minutes, from anger to bargaining, denial. Yeah, like he hit them all.
I mean, what does he expect?
No, he I took it as you're going to write us off, and I can't blame you. That's how I took it. Like,
really?
I don't think he was saying it as.
I don't know. And I had somebody say he was filming his next Adidas commercial. Like, you wait and see. That's going to show up in an Adidas commercial somewhere.
Yeah. During his exit meeting today, he said he hasn't slept. He said it doesn't matter if we go 82-0 next season. None of it's going to matter. The only thing we can do is control in the postseason. That's why I got the impression he was saying, like, you're going to write us off, and I have nothing to
what can you say?
Nothing to come back against.
Until next April.
Every time I would talk to him about where they were at, the success they were having, and he kept saying, we ain't won anything yet. We ain't done anything yet. He was already focused on, we have to do this in April, May, and June. Like, yes, this is great. Yes, this is fun. Yes, I'm glad y'all believe.
Yeah.
But we have to do it when it matters.
And ultimately, he knows that the great players in the NBA are judged by winning championships.
Yep.
That's it. And he's never even gotten to a conference final.
Yeah. He said, real quick, I just want to read one more quote. His message to the team this summer: it's going to be a loud summer. We got to use it all as fuel. Danny went on to say, Donovan went on to call what happened an embarrassment the team needs to face and can't run from. So not like he's shying away from the disappointment that we all feel today.
He's right. And like I've said 100, like I'm dead inside. I don't care. This is an easy team, though, to like. It's an easy team.
Oh, sure.
It's an easy team to root for. My respect level for him in this series has gone up. And not that I didn't before, but I've just been really impressed with the way that he's just consumed by this. And, I kept saying, hey, man, when you can't screw around with a calf because that can lead to an Achilles. And he just fought through it. And
you knew he was going to play last night.
Oh,
you knew it.
Yeah.
Because he's a warrior.
There was no doubt.
So you can, and he's going to get knocked for it. He never made it out of the second round. This is 8 years now, haven't made it out of the second round. I don't know how you can put this series on him.
You can't.
And, we've talked about it before. Like, they're playing with two undersized guards in the backcourt, and smaller guards can only take you so far. That's why it's so imperative that Evan becomes the guy. Because I think you saw in real time what happens. And, he was playing on one leg. But these guys can only take you so far. But they physically aren't built like LeBron, Giannis, Kevin Durant. They can't carry that type of load. They can't put an entire franchise on their back and take you to the finals. How much more evidence do you need?
Right.
And that's not a knock on him. He's giving you everything he's got.
Yeah.
But you can only ask a player to give you what he's capable of giving you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Donovan has given you that. But it's only going to take you so far. Eventually, if this team is going to win a championship, like Mike and I have said for years, it has to be Evan. The way that this team is constructed, and there's no other big superstar trade coming in here. We just laid out why. It has to be Evan.
And, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a fascinating offseason for the Cavs. There's no doubt about it. Do they have any draft pick, second-round pick, anything? They have a second-round pick.
No first-round pick. They have a second-round pick.
Second-round pick.
So next year they'll have a first-round pick, right?
Yes, but it'll be a swap on a swap.
It's the third worst between Utah, Cleveland,
Atlanta. They'll have the worst pick of those three.
Which better be theirs.
It better be there.
And then they don't control their draft for the next 5 years. They
Right.
lose control of the draft for the next 5 years.
Right.
They are just now starting to pay
Donovan Mitchell price.
the Donovan Mitchell price.
Gotcha.
Yes, in
Gotcha.
draft picks.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it there.
But at least he's still here.
At least
Donovan's still here.
That's true.
That could have been a catastrophe of a trade.
Feels
No
a
doubt.
lot worse if he's not here and they don't have control.
Yes. All right, we'll get to the Guardians next. Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, I got two reads for you guys real quick. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've got a read on someone who's heating up, why not back it up with the same-game parlay? And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. You just head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I would also like to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you are unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand that offers a wide range of products from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but there are 5 brick-and-mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, and they're always putting the customer first so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simply, and adapt. Those are the core values to make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, just head to buckeyecu.org for more information. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified.
Well, guys, the only games that matter until September are the Cleveland Guardians for us here in Cleveland. And it's time to take full blast look at the Guardians, who, I said this yesterday, and it still somewhat feels this way. I feel like we're all talking about the Guardians as if they're having a bad season.
Logan Allen was awesome last night.
But they're 25-17. They have the second best record in the American League, and just 2 games back in the loss column of Detroit, who won. Did you see how Detroit won yesterday?
No.
No, I don't think I did.
They played a wild game. It went into extra innings. It was 8-8 going to the, I don't know if it was the 10th or 11th. I can't remember now. Christian Campbell of the Red Sox hit a 2-run homer in the top of the inning to give the Red Sox a 10-8 lead.
Is he their prospect, the young kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just signed him to a big extension. They just signed him to a big
He's
contract.
a rookie.
He's a rookie, yes. And then in the bottom of the either 10th or 11th, Javi Baez, who's having a resurgence this year, hit a second 3-run homer of the game, a walk-off.
That's crazy.
He's having a great year.
It's unbelievable.
Well, that's the thing. You look at the Tigers, and I was concerned about their lineup being their flaw. But Baez is playing like an all-star, and so is Spencer Torkelson. Two guys who were kind of out of the mix.
Yeah. Baez has been bad for like 4 or 5 years now,
Ever since he signed with them.
Yeah.
Ever since he went to Detroit, yes. Yeah. Not that long, but yes.
Since he's
been in Detroit, he's been terrible.
What, it's at least 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, last year he was arguably the worst player in baseball, and he's having an all-star caliber at season. And Torkelson, who at one was the first overall pick of the draft a few years ago. 2 years ago, he kind of burst on the scene. Last year, he was a total disaster, back to the minors. They had moved Colt Keith to first base, thinking Torkelson was out of the mix, and he's got like 10 home runs right now. So they're a completely different team right now. We know how good their pitching is. And so they're playing great. But so are the Guardians. And even with all the flaws in the lineup, shutouts on back-to-back nights against the Brewers. Last night, Logan Allen, who's been really their worst starter,
was awesome.
Was fantastic. 6 shutout innings. The bullpen did great. And don't look now, for all of you who were writing off Emmanuel Clase, and who kept saying, Mike, not only would I not send him to the minors, which some people wanted to do, I said I wouldn't even take him out of the closer role. They did take him out of the closer role for 1 day. And he's been pretty much lights out. 6 straight scoreless appearances. I think 9 of his last 10 appearances outside of that one blow-up against the Pirates a couple of weeks ago. Was it the Pirates?
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside that one blow-up against the Pirates, he's been fantastic. Their 4 key bullpen guys have, for the most part now, been excellent. And their pitching staff right now has been great. Obviously, there's still some holes in the lineup, but you got to be excited right now about how the Guardians are pitching.
Dude, I never saw the update on Lively.
He went on the IL.
I totally missed. I was so
I know. It was so I didn't actually see it till this morning, but he did go. He left the game early. What's today? Wednesday on Monday.
Yeah.
And he's been really good. So it's unfortunate. It'll be interesting to see what they do in that 5th spot. Cantillo.
I'd like to see Cantillo get a shot.
Yeah, he got blown up his last bullpen appearance. But I assume they're going to. Is he ready to start?
They'd have to. I mean, if he's
got to build him up
2 innings.
Right, you'd build him up, but I guess he's the guy they'd go with right now.
Is Slade Ciccone not?
He's still on the IL, although I think he's getting close.
No, I think didn't they take him off the IL
he on a rehab?
And put him in AAA? He might be on a rehab side. I mean, he's just about ready to go. He's been pitching in the minors. I don't know that they're confident in him. I think Cantillo's earned a spot. He pitched well last year. He's had 1 bad outing. Yeah, he had 1 early in the year too. He's had 2 bad outings. Every other time he's been excellent. And he pitched well. I think he's worthy of a shot. But overall, Logan Allen pitched well. Bybee's last start was great. Williams, we know he's been inconsistent. His last start was great. Ortiz is, since early struggles, has been more good than bad. Pitched great Sunday. Unfortunately, Lively, who's been very good, is hurt. But, I mean, right now you got a lot of pitchers pitching well for the Guardians.
Which is that's how they win.
That's their bread and butter.
And if you have that, you give yourself a chance.
Yes.
And the thing with Bybee is interesting. His strikeout numbers are down.
Way down, yeah.
But he's getting deeper into games than he was. And I just wonder, I want to get out there. I want to talk to you about this. I wonder if there's been a shift with him of you got to get deeper in the game, man.
Yep.
So if that means sacrificing, trying to get a punch out, is to get a ground ball and put the ball in play and let the defense win it for you, I'm okay with that trade-off.
Yeah.
I mean, the strikeout obsession has only been the last few years.
Right.
There is a bunch of guys Jamie Moyer made a lot of money in his life, and I'm not trying to compare the two. That's the first name that came to mind.
Kyle Hendricks.
You don't have to pile up 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strikeouts to have a successful outing. I'd much rather see you get through 6 innings and save a bullpen than pile up strikeout numbers. So I just feel like he's made a little bit of a shift, and I may be totally wrong. It may just be happenstance, but it feels like last year he would have 6 or 7 strikeouts, but he's only getting 4 1/3, 4 2/3 innings. He's not even getting through the 5th. These last few outings, it feels like he's working deeper into games than with 3, 4 strikeouts. Okay, I'll live with that.
Yeah, sometimes you worry when the strikeouts go down, is there something wrong with him? I don't think that's the case here. I think you're right. To me, this is a level of maturity. Zach and I were talking about this on the Guardian show Monday. Sometimes when you're a young pitcher, and Gavin Williams is going through this, because he has a lot of games where it's like 10 base runners in 5 innings, but 9 strikeouts, so he gets out of the jams. And then the days he can't get out of the jams, that's when he has those blow-up situations. But as a pitcher matures and learns how to pitch more than just, when you've got good stuff like Tanner Bybee does, You don't need to be nibbling at the corners to try to get that strikeout or try to get the guy to chase all the time. Sometimes, especially when you're facing the bottom of the lineup, you want him to put it in play.
Yeah.
Get some quick at-bats. That's something, and I know he's struck, and now he's running. That's something that Emmanuel Clase is very good at.
Yeah.
Yes.
His strikeout numbers are not huge. The reason Emmanuel Clase pitches so many 7, 8, 9 pitch innings is because he's like, I got good stuff.
He's pitching to contact.
That's right.
They can't. If his cutter is on,
yes,
you're going to beat it into the ground.
That's right. And generally, it hasn't been quite as good this year. Generally, the Guardians play good defense. They haven't been quite as sharp this year, but generally they do. And so I think what we're seeing from Bibee is a sign of him maturing as a pitcher and not just a thrower.
I think just overall, it's encouraging that this staff, in totality, has been not elite, but pretty darn good considering the guys they haven't had ready yet. Bibee doesn't have his A game. I mean, he's, like I said, we're pitching better, but he's not a dominant ace in the likes of some of the other guys like we watched on Sunday. Who was Zach Wheeler? Just wheeling and dealing, no pun intended, slicing and dicing through hitters. Bibee's not doing that. Gavin Williams been a little inconsistent. Lively's been consistently average or above average.
A little better than that.
But for him, I
don't know how long he's going to be out, though. He might be out a while.
Luis Ortiz was awesome on Sunday. Yeah. Allen last night I thought was really impressive. And to see this whole staff put together back-to-back quality starts like that.
Yeah.
And not need to rely so heavily on that bullpen in the first and second week of May will only be beneficial to this team later on.
3 of his last 4 starts, Bibee's gotten through 6 innings at least.
Yeah.
2 of his last 3, he's gotten through 7 innings.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I worry about that more than the strikeouts.
Has he thrown 100 pitches? Because his pitch count's been relatively low in all of them.
Yeah, no. One start this year, he's been over 100.
Yeah.
He's kept him under 100 pitches in all but one.
A couple other things of note. After he'd been in a slump for about a month, Jose Ramirez has gotten hot again. He's hitting 8 straight. He hit a home run yesterday. Obviously, they need him to be the anchor of that lineup. And from the beginning of April till the first couple of days of May, he was struggling. But now, overall the numbers looking really good. Kyle Manzardo got the big triple in the game yesterday.
That was fun. That triple was a very fun. I would have taken 12 seconds to get to third base. That was a very fun, whatever the time frame was.
Yeah.
Watching Manzardo chug and get over to third base on a ball that I didn't think off the bat was going to lead to 3.
Something else to note. One of the Guardians' top prospects, C.J. Kayfus, I've mentioned him a couple of times lately. He came up as a first baseman. Obviously, they don't really have a spot for a first baseman, even though Santana's not been that good, but David Fry is going to be back at some point, probably in a month.
He can't play first, though.
No, but I'm saying, even if you moved on from Santana, you'd probably DH Fry and play Manzardo at first.
Yeah, I got you.
C.J. Kayfus, who's mostly been a first baseman, is pretty much playing right field every day right now.
That's interesting.
He's in Columbus, right?
He's in Columbus. He's played a little first base, but he's been lately, I think it's 6 or 7 games in a row he's played right field.
I would say there's intent behind that.
100%. They're like, okay, Nolan Jones, we got you. But you're not doing anything. Will Brennan's a stopgap. John Kenzie's not an everyday player. Now, Kayfus is another guy who has some strikeout issues in AAA that I think is the final hurdle. But he was hitting great at AA. He's hit so far great at AAA. It's not like he's out of nowhere. He's their number 5 prospect. And that's just a guy to keep an eye on. If they don't get production the next couple of weeks out of right field, which they haven't.
June 1st is the cutoff for Nolan Jones? Maybe not an arbitrary date.
They're not going to. I don't think they would cut him necessarily.
No. I mean, cutoff date as to make the move.
Maybe. Listen, they got Lane Thomas is going to be back any day now. So you already got to make one move. So when Lane Thomas comes back, either Brennan goes back to the minors or John Kenzie goes to the minors.
Yeah.
And they may just want John Kenzie to play every day for a while now, so we'll see.
Because Thomas is right-handed, it's probably John Kenzie that goes down.
Right. So they got to send, it'll be one of those two. Now, if they want to bring up Kayfus, then
there goes the other one.
There goes the other one probably. Or I guess it's possible they can move on from Santana at some point, but I don't think they'll do that.
He's not playing terrible.
No, he's not. He's been okay.
Yeah.
He's been okay. So it's going to be interesting, but, they still have these holes in the lineup.
See Bazanis hitting better?
Yeah,
he had a good weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their thoughts are on bringing him up at some point. Obviously, they're not going to do it right away. Could we see him by August? Maybe. He's going to, listen, if they're, they're a playoff contender. There's no doubt. There's no dominant team in the American League. I know the Tigers have been the best team in the American League. Nobody's going to convince me they're unbeatable.
Of course.
No way. They're a good team. I like them. There's no, like, the National League is the top-heavy teams. The American League's got a number of teams that are good, but nobody that's spectacular, nobody that's unbeatable. The Guardians could go to the World Series. I don't care what anybody says, especially if they get Shane Bieber back by August. And if he's pitching like Shane Bieber the last 2 months of the season, there's nobody that can convince me that obviously, as we all know, once you make the playoffs, anything can happen.
Right.
But if you have Bieber, I was about to say Bieber. And I was going to say Beebe.
I'll do it for you.
Thank you.
Bieber, Bybee.
Bieber, Bybee.
You take it from there.
Yeah, Gavin Williams, and then Ortiz as your fourth guy.
Yeah.
That would be a hell of a
not a bad
postseason rotation. Yes, the Tigers' postseason rotation will be really good, too. I like the Guardians' pen better than I like the Tigers' pen, but I like the Guardians' pen better. And, again, I think right now the Tigers' lineup is better, certainly, than the Guardians. But they'll have some ups and downs. We'll see if Torkelson and Baez can keep it up all year. I just think the Guardians, like, at some point, management's going to have to say, okay, at the deadline, maybe we need to get one more bat. Maybe we need to go for it somewhere at some spot. Hey, let's get crazy. Let's trade for Luis Robert. How about that?
I say yes. In.
You look stunned by that.
No, what's he making?
I don't think it's a crazy amount.
20 million, 22 million? I think it's right around there.
Okay, well, we're going to look it up. I mean, here's the problem. Some of the awful teams in baseball right now, they have almost nobody you want.
Yeah.
Like, the White Sox have some nice – they actually have gotten some decent starting pitching, but they're all young guys. They're not going to trade any of those guys.
Correct.
Their only hitter you'd really want is Luis Robert.
According to Spotrac, he's making 15.
Okay, so that's
not
I just
outrageous.
want to see how many years he has guaranteed left.
There's the whole, are they going to make a trade within the division? I can't remember the last time the Guardians and White Sox got together. Maybe Roberto Hernandez, the closer, in the 90s.
That was a long time ago.
I think that might be the last time these two teams made a deal of substance.
Does Colorado have anyone?
Colorado's got nobody. There's nobody you want from Colorado. Nobody. Their only decent hitters are Brenton Doyle and Hunter Goodman. They're both very young players. They're not going to trade those guys. Doyle's like in maybe his second year, maybe third. They got at least 4 years left on him. And Hunter Goodman's a rookie. And those are their only two hitters.
There's a great story on Yahoo the other day. I don't know if you saw it, about just the ineptness of Colorado.
Oh, my God.
How stuck they are in the archaic ways of baseball.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you got to really be a baseball nut to want to read it.
I'll read it.
I thought it was really well done.
So here's Luis Roberts' contract. It's fantastic. He's getting $15 million this year, and then there are $20 million team options the next 2 years. I mean, that would be a great contract for the Guardians to get. That's not crazy money.
No, it's not.
And if he disappoints or whatever, you could always let him go.
I mean, in theory, that's what you were going to be paying Jimenez. And
Exactly.
You haven't really replaced
And
that
Roberts
money.
a way better hitter when he's healthy. I know he's injury prone.
So many injuries.
I know, but like that, he would inject some. Like you could put him at the top, at the 2 spot behind Kwan. How about all of a sudden you have Kwan, Robert, Ramirez, Manzardo? I mean, I like the looks of that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them do that. Honestly, I'd love to see them go out and get a catcher right now.
Bo Naylor's not been good.
Yeah.
He's had moments, but the consistency.
I'll tell you what. I think the Cubs and Guardians could be a good trade partners. The Cubs have 3 legitimate major league catchers. Now, one of them's a rookie who just got called up yesterday, and long term, I don't know that he's a catcher because he's kind of fat. But this guy is hit everywhere in the minors.
Well, you can be a fat catcher.
You can. He's really kind of.
Look at Kirk in Toronto. He's a circle.
This guy's like a little taller version of Alejandro Kirk. He's taller, but he's kind of got the belly like Kirk.
What's his name?
But his name is Moises Ballesteros.
Ball, right?
Ball, yeah. He just got called up to make his major league debut yesterday. Big left hand. He's a big lefty. Chubby lefty.
I'm a fan.
But everywhere in the minors, this guy is hit.
I'm a fan.
And not only is he hit, this is what I like when guys coming up. Very low strikeout rate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Cubs are willing to trade him. He's one of their best prospects.
That's what I want to catch.
And he's really young. He's like young I can't remember how old. How old is he, Mike? I won't say he's like 22, 21.
So why are you going from one young catcher to another?
Yeah, but
He's 21.
21, yeah.
He's just got a much higher pedigree in terms of his offensive potential.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to work.
I mean, if you want to go that route, the White Sox have two right now. Cuero's playing great. They have Teal in the minors. If you want to do a White Sox deal.
Or you could go the veteran route, like the Cubs have a young veteran in Miguel Amaya, who he's splitting time with Carson Kelly behind the plate. They're both playing well.
Are those the other two catchers? You said the Cubs have three major league catchers.
Yeah, and the Cubs are not going to trade Carson Kelly because he's having like a year for the ages. And he's a veteran. They don't want to move him. I'm just saying there's some possible. Cubs bullpen stinks. The Guardians have good depth. They got Andrew Walters in the minors. I know he's banged up right now. They got, what's his name, Sobrowski. Like, I could see trading one of those guys for a catcher or something. You might have to give up a little bit more because it depends who you go. For Amaya, like, I could see one of those guys for Amaya being a good trade. And Amaya, since August of last year, has been an above-average hitter for catchers, and he's a solid defensive player. He'd be an upgrade, in my opinion, over Naylor.
Back to Robert.
Yeah.
Well, how many options are on it?
Two for $20 million apiece.
Excuse me. See, that's why I don't think the whole interdivision thing should matter. Chicago's not going to be good in 2 years anyway. And you know he's not re-signing in Cleveland.
No.
He'll probably be in Cleveland for one of those option years, and then they'll trade him.
Yeah,
So
but for the rest of this year, you got 2 playoff runs with him.
Yeah.
He's injury prone, no doubt, and it's gonna cost a good prospect haul to get him
100%.
because he's their only guy to trade. They got to get something for him. But
we're talking like a DeLauder level prospect, like a top 5 guy, or
I don't think DeLauder. I mean, DeLauder's had so many injuries.
Well, I was saying a guy.
Yes, you're gonna have to give up a top 5 prospect. Yes.
Top 5. Okay.
I mean, he's not a pitcher. I'm going back like. What did Boston get for Crochet?
A lot.
Or what did they give up? They
I
gave
can't
up
remember
Teal,
off the top of my head.
They gave up Montgomery. They gave up, I think, probably 4 of their top 12 prospects.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, you're probably talking 3 for Robert for 3 years of control of Luis Robert. You're probably, you're not giving up. If you're the Guardians, you're not giving up Bazana.
No.
But DeLauder would have to be in play.
Velasquez.
Ralphie Velasquez would have to be.
Yeah.
Pretty much anybody.
Yeah. Now, Robert's not having a good season so far. Although he does lead the league with 16 stolen bases.
Which is odd because he runs, but normally doesn't run that much.
Right. In fact, his OPS the last 2 years is not very good, but the year before that he was an all-star. He's had
the losing beats guys down. Look at Castellanos.
There's no doubt about it.
Castellanos in Detroit was abysmal.
Remember, he got traded to the Cubs and he went
And took
wild.
off. Yeah.
And then he went, and now he's a Philly and he's good. I think, yes, you're going to have to trade a top prospect.
More than one.
The Guardians have been so scared to trade top prospects, and many of them have not panned out. If I got to trade Ralphie Velasquez or CJ Kafis or even Chase DeLauder, I'm going to do it. There were other guys who were like, we can't trade these guys. And then what happened to him? Daniel Espino, he couldn't trade him. The guy's off the radar prospect.
Tyler Freeman, when I first got here, was the untouchable
They couldn't trade him.
infielder.
They couldn't trade Arias, this guy, that guy. I'd trade anybody but Bazana to get him.
The problem I think they might run into is they are sort of at the bottom of the pitching cycle. These things, you had Espino, Gavin, and Biden.
Right, they
all
have no
coming at
prospect
once.
pitchers, really.
Yeah, which is unusual for them, but I just think it's a cycle. So if
Tugboat, they want Tugboat.
If a team like Chicago,
He's untouchable.
I mean, Chicago's got a lot of good young pitching, but you're always seeking more pitching.
Right.
So if they're looking for pitching, they're not necessarily a match there.
No, right.
You would like at least one arm if you're Chicago.
Yeah, they don't. Who's that? I think 9 of their top 10 prospects are hitters.
It depends on what
Who's the
list
pitcher?
you're looking at.
I can't remember who the pitcher is.
I'll look it up.
It's not. I mean, it's nobody
It's
comes
nobody
to
like,
mind. There's
I don't think
nobody-
it's anybody like ready for the majors.
No, that's why I think Cantillo is probably your best
Right.
option right now.
Yeah, I mean, what else? What do
Is,
they have at AAA? I can't even think who's starting right now at AAA.
According to MLB.com,
Yeah.
it's loading.
Is it funny? Like, we didn't even think about Tristan McKenzie, who's still in the organization.
I was
but-
just thinking about Tristan, but he has
Yeah, no.
zero.
All right, these are the
cleared waivers.
Yeah.
top. They do have one pitcher in the top 10. The top
Yeah.
10 prospects according to MLB.com: Bazana, DeLauder, Jason
Churio.
Churio,
Is Jackson Churio the Brewers' brother?
Yeah.
Angel.
Genoa. I can't
Genoa?
remember. Shortstop.
Yes.
Yeah. He's,
Kafis is the 5th.
yeah.
Welbin Francisa, 7. Cooper Ingle, 8. Rafi Velasquez was 6. Excuse
Yeah.
me. Braylon Doughty is the top rated pitching prospect.
Yeah,
Where is he?
Expected MLB.
Where is he right
ETA?
now? A-ball?
It's 2028.
Yeah, right. So like
He's 19 years old.
he's the third guy in the
He's
trade,
in
or the fourth guy in the
Lynchburg
trade.
right now.
No team is relying on an A-ball pitcher as a key cog in the trade.
Andrew Walters is the only pitcher.
Yeah,
in the
he's a
top,
relief pitcher.
Top 15
Yeah.
that has any sort of like real major league experience.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there now. They try to. Can they get a 3-game sweep of shutouts? What is the pitching? They're playing at 1 o'clock, I think, right?
Yeah, first pitch is very soon.
Who's pitching for the Brewers? Oh, that's right. They're calling up the kid Henderson. I forgot about that.
Good numbers in his first start.
Yeah, they just called him, or they're just calling him up today. The Twins have a doubleheader. They've been red hot. They've won 8 in a row. They're scoreless in the third inning, and so there you go. All right, 1:10 start time in Milwaukee. All right, Anthony.
No, here.
What?
They're home.
Oh, sorry. Against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I know.
In some other breaking news, they hired Corey Kluber as a special assistant to
Yeah,
pitching
Zach
today.
mentioned that to
Just
me
announced.
yesterday.
I didn't see that.
Earl just texted it to us. And Bull, you want to tell us about MenuRX before we get to Super Chats?
Yeah, MenuRX is a great place to turn. If you're sick of all the big box store weight loss plans that really don't work for you, they may work for the grandma down the street, but not for you, turn to MenuRX. Instead of like your neighbor leading a class, it's a nutritionist, a scientist who studies nutrition. They will help you get the body you're looking for, help you lose weight, help you get in better shape, be more fit, whatever it is you're looking for. One-on-one consultations. Your insurance may cover it, even if it doesn't. If you have an HSA or FSA account, you could use that in most cases. So you may not have to pay anything out of pocket to get this specialized attention with a plan specifically for you and your needs. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to nutrition and weight loss. So go to menu-rx.com today. Get your free consultation. That's menu-rx.com.
All right, guys. Before we get to Super Chats, I want to give a shout-out to one of our fans. His name's Oshi. Plays in a band called
Yeah,
Beartooth.
shout out to Oshi.
Hey, they weren't supposed to play the festival I was at in Columbus down
Yeah.
at Sonic Temple, and they got called in last minute, drove up from Nashville to play Sunday to open for
Wow.
Metallica. So shout out to those guys. It was supposed to be their day off, and it was an awesome show. They killed it.
And
So
Beartooth,
Oshi is a fan of this show?
he watches all the time. Yeah,
he's
shout out to
their bass
Oshi
player.
How is he? Is he is he
They're all
from here
Columbus.
originally?
From
Yeah,
Columbus.
they're all born, raised Columbus.
But they live in Nashville because that's where the music scene is?
No, I think they're just on tour right now.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, thanks to them for being fans, and kudos to them on doing a great show.
And Beartooth is big, right? Like it's a
Yeah,
legit.
I mean, they played one of the biggest times at Sonic Temple, and I think they're a sub-headliner for Incarceration in July. And they're on
So-
their own headlining tour right now.
The name of their band is called Beartooth?
Yes.
I got to look
Yeah,
into
go check
it.
them out. They just
What
had
kind
a
of
new album
music
come
is
out.
it?
metal.
It's heavy metal. A little
Okay.
bit more metalcore.
I dabble in heavy metal occasionally.
Caleb, their lead guy, really good singer. Like, you'll probably enjoy it.
Oshi, when you see this, DM me a song for Bo to listen to, and I'll make sure he listens to that
Yeah, I gotta
song
listen to the right
specifically.
song.
Whatever song you think Bo would like the best, I will make sure
Yeah.
he listens to that.
Shout out to them, man.
My recommendation
That's
is
cool.
Sunshine, but that's my recommendation.
All right.
Super chats from Charles T. I want to start a GoFundMe for Bull and G to go out to Berea for most of camp.
Why do they need to go for
We don't need to GoFundMe. We
think
need to figure out what the time is and if it's going to work with the show.
Logistics, yes.
We
It's
don't
not,
need to
it's
pay
not
to
a
get
money
in.
thing. It is a logistics thing.
Yeah.
From
Thank
Eddie,
you.
our guy, Eddie Everhart, is could LeBron James opt out and sign for the league minimum? Go Guards.
Braun is not coming
He's
back.
not coming back.
Could he?
Jason has
Yes.
said it.
Could
In
he?
theory, he could,
Yes.
though. Yes.
I mean,
Will he?
if he wanted to.
yeah, he's going to leave
No.
his kid.
Yeah. Just
And-
play for the minimum.
No,
LeBron doesn't play for the minimum.
no. He told me I ain't a mid-level guy. He's certainly in a
That's an
minimum.
all-time great. I don't think we've talked about how awesome of a quote that is. Like seriously,
I'm
how
not a mid-level.
that is such a. You have to be like a LeBron level player to get away with that, and he
Go ahead.
obviously
Go ahead,
is.
Anthony.
All right, next one is from
Yeah.
Ronaldo Archer. Which team is softer, Mark Price-led Cavs or this iteration?
I think this team, though.
You
I
know-
don't remember that team as well.
You know what's
obviously.
funny? I went back. I think when we were doing the what if thing, we did a what if on what
Yeah,
if
right,
Michael
right.
missed. I went back and reread the story that I wrote. I talked to Wayne Embry, the GM of that team, and there was a play that I'd forgotten about. It was remember who it is. Somebody had elbowed Mark earlier in that season, and it like derailed. It was a cheap shot.
Yeah.
And Wayne said we had the reputation of being. And Wayne is a big guy.
Yeah.
And Wayne was like out on the court ready to fight them all. as the GM of the team, having his guys back because he had said, we'd had that reputation of of kind of a bunch of nice guys. There is a lot of similarities between the 80s Cavs team and this team, just in likable guys. They're great guys. Like you feel bad saying they're too good of guys, but was having a conversation last night. Sometimes you need a little crazy. Yeah. You got to inject a little crazy.
Man, and in that era to be soft, it had to be even worse.
Yeah.
Because teams would be punching in the face. All right, go ahead, Anthony.
All right, I got 5 more, guys. The Salvatore216 says, Super Chat this numerous times. The fatal flaw is the 2 undersized guards and a huge lack of composure against physicality. Allen and Mobley and DG are all too soft. The next one from DBDog21. Mike, I know football players can get stronger and more powerful. Can basketball players do the same? Body transformation does not seem to be a thing in basketball.
Absolutely.
Indy just seemed more strong and powerful.
Look at Mobley from last season to this season. Look at Darius, frankly, from last season to this season.
Look at Kevin Durant early in his career.
Look at Giannis. Giannis now looks like he ate Giannis from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Put on a muscle suit and turn into the real. It happens. It's not as.
Is it harder in basketball because of how much they burn, because of how much they run?
They lose weight during the season.
Yeah,
like if an offensive lineman or a lineman, they're not running as much. They're not doing as much cardio, right?
But those guys lose weight during the season, too.
Yeah, it's a different form. It's not as visible as, are your biceps bigger? A lot of it's lower body, and they wear these long shorts. But does it happen? Yes. Yes.
All right, from Armac Dog, I've been saying all season that the Cavs' backcourt is too small and the front line is too skinny. Plus, they have no backup point guard or center. Get rid of Okoro, Wade, and Thompson and change the core 4. And then from Pranav, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Number 1 seed does not matter. Need some tough players. Break up the soft 4. Go with Mitchell, Mobley, and Giannis. Trade DG. Second, third apron. I do not care.
They can't get Giannis. We've already established that. It's impossible.
They are not in that game.
It's not going to stop fans from calling for it, though.
Our last one from King Savage. Darius for KCP and Mo Wagner. We get a backup big vet. 1 second. And then
do we like
a young playmaker off the bench, and we move Okoro somewhere for a second.
Read the last one again.
Darius for Black KCP and Mo Wagner. We get backup big vet for a bench and a young playmaker when we move Okoro somewhere for a second.
Yeah, no, I think that none of those make you better at all.
All right. That's going to do it for regulation. Coming up on overtime, I want to get your guys' thoughts on who you think is going to win the NBA championship.
I'm in.
As of right now. We'll do that on overtime. Thank you for joining us as always. We'll see you on overtime, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Peace.